From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, very good morning to you. A very special edition of GB News Breakfast this morning with me. Eamonn Holmes here in London in the studios, and Ellie Costello is going to be live from Windsor Castle throughout the day. So President Trump has arrived for his historic second state visit. That is the highest diplomatic honour the country can bestow upon a foreign leader. Now, after touching down in England last night, the world awaits for Donald Trump to come face to face with King Charles with all the pomp and pageantry the UK will bestow. And it's safe to say the President is a very happy man.
Windsor Castle for this before. They use Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right?
Well, let's remind you of the moment that the Prime Minister handed President Trump his invitation from the King.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there.
Well, the President slept at the American Embassy in London last night. He'll be travelling to Windsor later on today and will be treated to a ceremonial welcome and lavish state banquet. And Ellie will be there throughout the day bringing you the latest. But the President's arrival is not filling all people in Windsor with joy, as anti-Trump protests have been displayed on the castle, projected on that, as you can see, and we're expecting more of something similar throughout the day. The government's partial returns deal with France and other news is yet to begin, as plans to remove them in, one-out deal are halted. The Prime Minister still facing security and scrutiny on his decision to appoint Lord Mandelson, with Kemi Badenoch accusing the PM and his Chief of Staff of having forced through Lord Mandelson's appointment. Charlie Kirk suspect Tyler Robinson has appeared in court. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty. The prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, Christian Bruckner, is released from prison in Germany.
And in sports, Spurs and Arsenal both pick up wins in the Champions League, with Chelsea and Liverpool's turn tonight. Aston Villa scored their first goal of the season, but they're knocked out of the Carabao Cup on penalties to Brentford. And Team Europe prepares for the Ryder Cup with abuse on VR headsets. We'll explain.
It's a wet and windy start out there this morning. Some places will turn brighter this afternoon, some will keep the rain. More details in the forecast coming up soon.
Well, there we are, 3 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, this special special GB breakfast programme today with me in London, anchoring the programme, bringing you the news that is happening in the rest of the UK outside the presidential visit and the rest of the world. Joining me in studio, Paul Coit. This morning, and a good win for your team last night, Spurs, in the Champions League.
It was a win.
It was a win, okay.
It was whether it was a good win. See, that's the thing. It's like when I've got to stay up late and then I'm watching Spurs, and when it's a very dull game and I know I've got to be in bed, then I sort of find myself nodding off. But it was a win. So a good win for, like as we say, a good win. It's in the Champions League, so you can't argue with that.
I'm noticing the papers today, you know, we had the death of Robert Redford announced yesterday.
Yeah.
And today, the papers are really going for it. I thought he may have missed coverage in the papers today, but it really shows just what a god this guy was in the film world.
Well, I was thinking that just now, just as you were talking, and I'm looking at the papers there. Is he the last great film star? Is that a silly thing to say?
No, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah, who is it? There is one more. Clint.
Of course.
Clint, I mean, absolute genius as a director and
He's in the well, Clint is like him, you know, great actor,
correct, yeah.
Incredibly good looking, very good actor, very successful director, and extremely old. So well into his 90s now. So it's probably Clint then. Yeah. And Redford, the last ones. I mean, did all this happen when Paul Newman died? I don't know whether there was quite so much fuss around that as when Paul Newman passed away.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, but you know, you look at this guy and he was so good looking for so long.
Yeah.
And you can see how it was a huge advantage initially and maybe a bit of a disadvantage as he got older.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because that's what he was known for. Like, it was always, he was good looking. No, he's an actor as well. He was a director as well. That's why he changed and founded the Sundance Film Festival and whatever to show that he could bring forward projects.
And of course named after one of his most famous characters, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is still, I think there are certain scenes in films, and some of the great scenes, for you, when you think of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, what do you think of?
Oh, I think the jumping off the
That's it.
The cliff into the water. I can't swim. They
both stand there, and it's like, well, and then he goes, I can't swim.
Yeah.
And he said, well, he starts laughing. He goes, well, the fall's probably going to kill you anyway. So then they just hold hands and then they run out. And I was actually watching something the other day, and it was how they actually did that, because you see them run off this cliff and then dive in there. And there's this little, underneath, of course, there's this little shelf that they just jump off.
Gosh.
And then they did The Sting after that, Oscar-winning film, of course, The Sting.
But the one that nobody seems to talk about was a superb film, 3 Days of the Condor.
See, that's a film I know the name of, but it's not.
Oh, it's brilliant. He's a CIA operative, and they're undercover. They operate, you know, in an office in New York or wherever. And he pops out for his lunch, and when he comes back, everyone in the office is dead.
Right.
They've all been shot. Everyone, like
Don't tell me what happens.
20 old people or so. But then he's suspected, because he's the only one alive, he's suspected of having done it. And it's a superb film. But he was great into those films. When you look at those films in the 70s, like All the President's Men, I mean, just...
What a great film that is. Him and Dustin Hoffman.
That inspired
Woodward
me.
and Bernstein.
That inspired me to
really?
To become a journalist, yeah. And I actually talked to the kids in here last week or the week before about how in that film, if you watch it, they used phone. They use the phone, they pick up and they say, and they typewriters, and they use the phone and they talk to people and they get their contacts from the phone. It's not the way it is today, the way you send an email or a text or whatever it is. You get an answer from someone. You speak to them on the phone and they confirm something and you've got that detail. Whereas today they all wait for emails to be responded to and whatever.
See, the thing is, though, I would like to see you in that look. What you've got to do, though, surely, is loosen the tie, shirt undone, feet up on the desk with about 6 phones. Get me Deep Throat on the phone right now. So that's all the president's men. There's another great... So in future, I would like you to do that. Because if you're truly inspired, that's what you would be doing.
I'll tell you what I'm going to do now, Paul. Paul and I have been talking because we have had technological problems linking up with Windsor this morning. We think we've got those sorted now, but what we're going to do is we will shut up and we will hand you to the main woman there who's awaiting the arrival of the main man, President Trump. Good morning, Ellie.
Well, good morning from Windsor Castle. It's a royal residence that is steeped in history and tradition. And for the next 24 hours or so, this is going to be at the heart of Britain's royal pageantry. Behind me is the splendour of Windsor Castle. We'll be able to see it soon when the sun comes up. But overnight, it has been illuminated. Its ancient walls, once home to kings and queens across nearly 1,000 years of our British history. And the world's media is gathered here in front of Windsor Castle for the unprecedented second state visit of President Trump. A state visit being the highest diplomatic honour this country can bestow upon a foreign leader. Well, these occasions are rare and they are meticulously choreographed moments of diplomacy where the grandeur of the monarchy meets the power of politics. And today we are going to bear witness to the scarlet uniforms of the household cavalry, the precision of the guards on parade, the echoes of the trumpets along the cobbled courtyards of Windsor Castle. But it all serves a purpose, and that is to protect Britain's heritage, its continuity and its place on the world stage. But beyond the pomp and the ceremony, there is significance. The state visit is not only about the spectacle, it's about signalling the strength of relationships, forging alliances, and reminding the world that tradition and diplomacy still walk hand in hand here in Britain. So tonight, when we see the carriages roll through the gates and the guests gather for this glittering banquet in St George's Hall, Britain will do what it does best, which is blending history, symbolism and statecraft in a way that no other nation in the world can. It is pageantry with purpose, and we're going to bring you every moment of it live here on GB News. And what a royal welcome it's going to be for President Trump and Melania Trump, the First Lady, when they arrive here in Windsor later on this morning. It is going to be a spectacle, the very best of British pomp and pageantry, and we're going to be here on GB News bringing it all live to you. I'm delighted to welcome in my panel this morning. This is Greg Swenson, Chairman of Republican Overseas, who joins us this morning alongside Pandora Forsyth, the royal journalist. And Greg, it was a busy night last night in Windsor, wasn't it? We've heard about these 4 people arrested after images of President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were emblazoned upon the castle walls last night, but you had your own run-in with protesters, didn't you? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, we hosted a dinner, Republicans Overseas UK dinner at the Windsor Guildhall, and we were somewhat infiltrated by Just Stop Oil, so they made quite a scene. And then after we dragged them out, we stole the flag and had some great pictures. So it was really a fun time.
And what were they saying to you about President Trump's visit? Not happy he's here?
It was quite. You know, they were very dramatic, needless to say, and talking about the end of the world and the end of the planet, and President Trump shouldn't be here. It happened quickly, and we just they laid on the ground, and then we dragged them out. And police were there quickly too. I mean, there's a massive police presence here, needless to say.
Can we talk about the police presence in Windsor? Because I've spent a lot of time in Windsor over the years. I have never seen anything like this scale, Pandora.
Oh no, I mean, also just behind us, you've got the castle walls, obviously steeped in history. Then they've also had extra security there, extra fencing just in case. I mean, this is an unprecedented visit alone. But also, on the same note, you're going to have hundreds of protesters, and Trump does not want to see any of that, and the UK does not want Trump to see that either.
No.
This is very much going to be a huge state event and very much public facing, but no public facing events for Trump. So it's sort of bizarre how that metaphor is going to be playing out today.
It's going to feel different, isn't it, as a state visit? Very different to the state visit we saw from Macron recently. It is not going to be public facing. It's all going to be done within Windsor grounds and behind closed doors. How are the King and Queen going to make this feel like a full state visit? How are they going to give it the full bells and whistles treatment?
Yeah, so we've got the fly past happening this afternoon. Expect that around here at 4:30. But before that, they're going to be helicoptered from central London here. Again, not public facing, avoiding all those protesters, which I'm sure Trump will be very pleased about. Then once they get here, they're going to be meted by the senior members of the royal family. Obviously, Camilla's health issue yesterday. Hopefully, she will be making it today. She is actually friends with Trump, and he's very vocal about this, and Melania. So I'm sure she'll make absolutely every effort to be there. They know that this soft power in play is so important for Britain and for the Commonwealth. So they'll do their best to be there. And of course, the Prince and Princess of Wales, the state banquet this evening. There is lots of glitz and glamour, and I guess democracy in action today.
Exactly. Greg, how do you think President Trump will be feeling this morning? He spoke before he boarded his flight yesterday. He sounds absolutely thrilled to be coming to Britain for this state visit.
I would agree with that. I mean, this is a big moment for him, who loves this pageantry, who loves this country. And so I think, as discussed, he's got a great relationship with the royals. And I think he's really enjoying this. It's a great moment.
What do you think he's hoping to get from this visit, President Trump? Or is he just soaking up the pomp and pageantry?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, but I also think there's diplomacy involved. And you'll see some announcements, probably some foreign direct investment announcements on Friday at Chequers. And I think it's a great diplomatic moment. And this is, the world stage. There's no better place to do a state visit than Great Britain. And so I think for the president, it's a way to almost do a victory lap, after November from the election, but also talk about what he's done so far. The pace and scale of what he's done in the first 8 months is pretty incredible.
What do you think this means for the special relationship? Because Pandora mentions the fly past there. It's a joint UK and US fly past.
Yeah.
It symbolises, doesn't it, our close relationship?
It's incredible. I'm really looking forward to that. It just demonstrates the relationship is super tight. It doesn't matter really who's president or prime minister. But as I said, President Trump really has a fondness for the UK. So the defense and security relationship is critical, the intelligence sharing, and economics, of course. But it will be great to see the flyover with both air forces involved.
Yeah, it'll be wonderful. Pandora, tell us a little bit about the Prince and Princess of Wales, because they have a really important role to play in this state visit, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do. I mean, this is the future of the royal family. The truth is, the King and the Queen are older. I mean, so is Trump. They're all quite similar in age, other than Melania, who's significantly younger. But, I mean, the three of them are very close in age, which is probably one of the reasons why they get along so well from similar generations. But the Prince and Princess of Wales are the future, and they know that they need these special relationships to be cemented for going into the future, not only for the royals, but also for Britain. This is a real sort of key card that Starmer played when we had that very poignant moment when he did give that invitation over. And then, of course, we've had the meeting between Charles as well and Prince William, quite notably recently, without the Princess of Wales there. So whilst they're here, they will be hosting them alongside the King and Queen, and very much on the same level of them in terms of seniority for this visit alone. And there'll be moments as well where the Princess of Wales will be with Melania by herself when Trump goes to Chequers by himself to meet Starmer. So it's a particularly special visit, this one.
It certainly is. And Greg, I'm very interested in the American perspective of all of this, because it's wall to wall in the media looking at US outlets. It's also on the front page of the newspapers there in the early hours of this morning. Are Americans fascinated? Are they bewildered?
I think they are, and it's interesting. If this state visit was in any other country, I don't think it would get the attention, or very little attention. And this is, great. Again, a great moment. There's no better place to do it. And the American public is actually quite fascinated by the royal family, and so this is a big media event in the States.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible, isn't it? I mean, I've been struck by the number of media outlets from around the world that are here. You think you can understand why the Americans would be, of course, interested and fascinated by all of this. Us Brits, of course, are. But media outlets from all around the world want to be here to see President Trump and King Charles meet today, Pandora, and that is the power, the soft power of the monarchy, and they bring people together the way that perhaps Whitehall couldn't.
And it's the one thing that Trump can't have. They can't have a royal family. It's the one thing he can't get his hands on. So I think this is why it's so special. And Trump realises that, and he respects that, and he always has. He had a particularly special relationship with the late Queen. He'll go to St George's Chapel today to lay a wreath of respect there. And in 2019, of course, we saw those wonderful moments, and I'm sure they'll be replayed again today in his head. I mean, he has notably said that actually Windsor is maybe a little bit more special than Buckingham Palace. So I know that he
the
really
ultimate
is
royal residence.
Yeah,
he described it as
the ultimate. And again, he's so complimentary about the royal family, and they very much do appreciate that. And he has got, as you said, very much the world stage and the world media listening. You've got the royals and the president of the United States. I mean, the two most powerful symbols really in the world at the moment together. It truly is a moment of history today.
Yeah, it certainly is. Pandora and Greg, thank you very much. Lovely to speak to you this morning. So much to look forward to throughout this historic and unprecedented second state visit of President Trump. Just to give you an idea of the timings, we're expecting for President Trump and the First Lady Melania to arrive in Windsor. They'll be greeted by the Prince and the Princess of Wales, and then formally welcomed by the King and Queen. They'll receive a royal salute from Windsor Castle and also from the Tower of London. There'll then be a carriage procession through the grounds of Windsor, and then the President will be invited to inspect the Guard of Honour, followed by a march past there. A lunch will then follow inside Windsor Castle, and President Trump and Melania Trump will be invited to look at the display of items related to the US later on this afternoon. As Pandora mentioned, this afternoon they'll head over to St George's Chapel, where President Trump will lay a wreath on the tomb of Queen Elizabeth II. They'll listen to a choir performance there, and then they will watch that joint fly past of UK and US military jets that symbolises our military relationship, and that is all before the glitz and glamour of tonight's state banquet. So it is going to be a historic and a stunning day, the very best of British, Eamonn.
I'm saying, give us a lie down. Let's have a lie down this afternoon, just an hour off. But no, it's wall to wall, and we've got it all covered here on this special edition of GB News Breakfast, and indeed on GB News programming throughout the day. So Ellie there at Windsor, she's going to be back there live throughout the morning, bringing you the latest on the state visit. But first, what's the weather going to have in store for the President? I don't think it's going to be too good. Aidan McGivern may contradict me.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning. Drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact, many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England and Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing. Blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop, and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, so much still to come on this programme this morning. We've got the stories that are making the news back here in studio. We've got two people looking at the newspapers there. We've got James Price and we've got Susie Stride for that. And up next, the political commentator Jennifer Powers will be with Ellie in Windsor as the world awaits for the arrival of the President. You're tuned into GB News Breakfast with Eamonn and Ellie.
This is our country, and we think it's amazing. From high tea to the high street, we love it all. Even the rain, we like that too. There's nowhere else we'd rather be. That's why we're here to be the fearless champion of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we are GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Windsor Castle for this special edition of Breakfast for the unprecedented second state visit of President Trump. Well, let's look at the politics of all of this now, because the state visit comes at a fortuitous time for the embattled Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, as he faces pressure from within his own party over the Lord Mandelson scandal, as well as his migrant deal with France facing a serious blow as the first one-in, one-out migrant flight is grounded by the High Court. Well, I'm now joined by political commentator Jennifer Powers. Morning to you, Jennifer. And for all of the pomp and the pageantry and the shared connections, there is also some real risk associated with this trip, especially when it comes to Lord Mandelson and that scandal that threatens to overshadow this trip. Do you think it will?
I hope not. I feel like there's so much for these two great leaders to be discussing. There is going to be such a focus on the Western technological alliance. We've already had a lot of pre-briefing around the investments that are happening around AI and technology more generally. And I think there's going to be a huge effort on both the US and the UK part to focus on the good news, to focus on the strength of the relationship, to talk about security, to talk about how really we have shared interests. I think at the end of the day, we are in a place of more geo reality. Every nation has their own self-interest, but as so often in the case with the UK and Britain, our self-interests align. And so there's so much that the two leaders share, and I think they'll have an opportunity for a lot of good discussion.
Yeah, and there are potential political gains here, aren't there, for Sir Keir Starmer, which he so desperately needs. He needs a good week, doesn't he? What good news do you think we can expect for Britain? I mean, you alluded there to investment in terms of AI and tech.
Yeah, listen, I think this trip could all be summed up by tech and trade. So very much looking at many billions of investment from the big AI and tech firms from the UK, from the US here into the UK. The British government sees this investment in AI as absolutely critical to get growth and productivity in the economy. Something that they've really staked the government's reputation on. So they'll be absolutely pleased that the business unit in number 10 and that the Foreign Office has been able to work with American counterparts to pull together what I think will turn out to be a historic amount of foreign direct investment in Britain. And then trade. Obviously, we heard the story many months ago around the very positive trade deal. We heard Trump even talking about it yesterday, about how it was a good deal, but how he knew that Britain wanted a few tweaks. And so undoubtedly that will come up. I think steel very much on the agenda around trying to keep those tariffs as low as possible so that British steel exports to the UK remain competitive against other steel producers around the world.
Can we talk about this major headache for the Prime Minister, which is this one-in, one-out migrant returns deal with France, which seems to be one in, can't get one out at the moment, because this one man was trying to be deported, or they were trying to deport him on Monday on an Air France flight. It was stopped by the High Court. Claims from this asylum seeker, he feared he'd be left destitute if he returns to Paris. What do you make of it, and what does it mean for this deal?
Well, I would say that this government was warned. It was warned thousands of times that the constitutional settlement in this country does not allow us to secure our borders. And they had plenty of time to come up with a plan for how they would deal with the influx of illegal immigrants. And we need deportations, because without deportations, there continues to be a very strong incentive for people to try to come into Britain illegally. And this was, announced with great fanfare. Mm-hmm. We were told by many politicians and the government spokesman that this was a deal that Yvette Cooper, whilst Home Secretary, had spent a good year negotiating. And despite all the warnings, the government, didn't take them to heart. They pushed ahead, thinking that this would work. And we now see that because of lawfare, because of the way that, claimants will come and they will they'll really use the European Court of Human Rights, they'll use the Human Rights Act, and they'll use the legislation and a very activist judicial bench to stymie efforts by the UK government to deport them. And so perhaps at last the government will understand the true scale of the challenge that they face in reforming both our institutions and our laws to be able to secure our borders.
OK, Jennifer Powers, thank you very much indeed. Well, do stay with us here on GB News Breakfast. We'll be here from Windsor Castle talking about this special historic day, the second state visit of President Trump. It's time now for your daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, I'm Reverend Mike, a Church of England vicar. Do you ever have those days where everything seems to go wrong? You spill coffee all over your clean outfit, your phone pings with a bad news email, your car won't start and it's barely 8:30 a.m. Sometimes it's more serious, a season perhaps where a bereavement and a bad diagnosis and job loss all seem to happen at once. Jesus tells a parable of a man who was beaten and robbed and left for dead before a good Samaritan came to help. It's a very well-known story of unexpected kindness. And the reality is that life can be a bit like those robbers at times. It kicks us in the guts, leaves us feeling helpless. Grief is so often secret. We don't know what's happening in the life of that person next to us in the tube, the person queuing up next to us at the shop. And how often has a small kindness from a stranger brought us back from the brink? Maybe today we can be such a good Samaritan to someone. And in doing so, we become a small reflection of Jesus, the one who came from above to bind us up and to make us whole.
Well, that is today's daily reflection. A lot to reflect on today. The busyness of today, both at home and abroad. And if you want to have your say, if you want to have your opinion on Donald Trump at Windsor, please do. What do you think of these protests, these projections of Trump and Epstein that have been shown on the walls of Windsor Castle? Let us know your views. Much appreciated. Still to come, we'll have Ellie bringing you the very latest from the castle as preparations are made for the arrival of the President and his wife. But first, if you're travelling out and about today, and maybe you want to avoid Windsor, here's a travel update.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 eastbound at junction 19 is blocked due to emergency roadworks, so drivers should follow diversion signs. A broken down vehicle is causing delays on the M621 westbound between junctions 3 and 2, with 2 of 3 lanes closed. In Norfolk, the A47 eastbound is at a standstill due to a collision, with all lanes shut. Motorists on the M25 clockwise between junctions 5 and 6 in Surrey should expect delays due to a malfunctioning vehicle, reducing capacity to 1 of 4 lanes. And on the trains, Northern Line buses will replace trains between Corkicle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back. Eamonn Holmes here in London. We've got Ellie Costello bringing you live coverage from Windsor this morning and throughout the show as the King prepares to welcome President Trump. But first, Arsenal have made a flying start to the Champions League campaign. A win for Spurs as well, which has kept Paul quite happy. He'll be reflecting on Champions League action in the sport next.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth. Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and he did nothing.
It's controversial.
The Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Paul and I are sitting talking here just before we get to the sport and the giveaway and all that sort of thing. We were talking about, Paul was saying, you know, Robert Redford was the last of the greats, and then I said, au contraire, because I thought Clint Eastwood would be the last of the greats. But I thought, again, of a woman that fitted the bill. Can you guess?
You'll have to give me a clue.
Well, she dated Robert Redford, and they couldn't get married because they were both married to other people at the time.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
Who?
Jane Fonda.
Who was in Barefoot in the Park?
She did 6 films or so, I think, with him.
Did I? Because I remember Barefoot in the Park in 67.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know they had a thing going on there.
Yeah, they had a thing going on.
Was she with Roger Vadim at the time?
I don't know who.
Roger Vadim.
She's been with plenty, so she has. But the thing about her is she's a very talented person and, you know, really beautiful looking. I mean, got the star status.
Yeah.
Without doubt, yeah.
And the workout videos of the 80s as
and
well.
the workout videos, let's not forget those.
Let's
not forget the Great British Giveaway, and you won't forget it if you enter and win.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof light, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, and thank you to Hayley Sparks for all those details. Paul, now with the sport...
Hold on, I've got one more thing.
Yes.
So if, for me, greats is if you could probably name 6 or 7 films off the top of your head. I don't think I could do that with Jane Fonda.
Right, well then that's your problem.
Yeah. Henry... OK, well, I'll work on it.
OK.
It's not her problem, it's my problem. And I understand that.
She's great in many ways, just even in terms of a public profile.
Yeah,
you know, she's great. You know, all the anti-Vietnam stuff and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So for our series of Hollywood greats, we'll put her in.
OK, the Champions League was back last night.
Game 1, Atletico Madrid 0, Arsenal 2. It was super subs, really. They were the super subs.
Yeah.
So it was Gabriel Martinelli.
Arsenal played them well.
Yes, absolutely, because we know, you've got to have strength in depth. Leonardo Trossard came on as well. So they both scored off the bench. And you know what our free captain Black has been saying? He's actually been saying it's a bit like rugby union. And I think it was Eddie Jones that came up with that, about starters and finishers. So it's no longer just 11 players. It's who you're going to start with. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So that was it. And so he had his starters.
Yeah.
And so nowadays, it is a squad game, and it's not a matter of going, well, you're not starting. It's like, but you'll be finishing.
But Alex Ferguson always had this thing about impact players.
Yeah.
You know, so like Tevez or someone like that would be an impact player.
Yeah, and it's just moved on a step.
You
anyway,
bring them on, they'd make a difference.
Arsenal stand a great chance to win this competition, I think. It's very early days. I do think.
OK, well, it wasn't a huge win last night.
No, but away in Atletico Bilbao. See, that's the other thing about Bilbao. You know, every player come from the Basque region. It's true.
Well,
they will not have any other players.
Well,
it's absolutely true. Yeah. So in Bilbao, they will only have players that from
But
the
it's
Basque
like that Celtic team that won the European Cup in '67.
Yeah.
I mean, they were all born within 30 miles of Glasgow.
There you go.
All of them. Unbelievable.
Those are the days. So Bilbao will do that. Spurs.
So your team, Spurs, were in there. Now, you did get a win. You were at home.
Yes. Which is, I mean, it's the 4th clean sheet in 5 games. So Thomas Frank has changed things around with Spurs. You know, it's whereas there'd be a leaking goal every 10 minutes now, he's really shored up the defence. So 4th clean sheet in 5 games. There was a crazy goal. Luis Junior, their goalkeeper, pretty much threw one in. Cross came over, grabbed hold of it, and pretty much threw it into the back of the net. It's the most bizarre goal I've ever seen. 3 minutes in, so then they shut up shop, and then they won 1-0. So we'll take it. It wasn't an exciting game. It wasn't a great game. But let's hear from Thomas Frank. This is what he had to say about it.
I thought it was a big win. In any competition, it's good to get 3 points and get a good start. Happy with that. Happy with the clean sheet. Happy with the defensive side of the game. I think we were extremely good and limited Villarreal to very, very little. Throughout the game, a good team. I really, really admire. Obviously, offensively, we struggled on the day to create something against a good team that also defend very well.
Not easy, is it, to try and... I tell you, I couldn't describe that in as long as he did, because it was just a bit dull. 1-1-0. We'll take the 3 points. On to the next one.
Tonight, the next ones are tonight. Liverpool against Atletico Madrid and Bayern Munich against Chelsea.
That's it.
And that's happening tonight. Paul, we'll see you again in about 40 minutes' time.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Plenty coming up.
Don't forget, of course, Ellie bringing you live coverage from Windsor Castle throughout the programme this morning as we await Donald Trump's arrival there. But first, we're going to get to the bottom of whether or not man flu does exist. It does. It does. More on that and other stories in the papers with James Price and Susie Stride. That's next.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're thinking of avoiding the unsettled weather in the UK and heading overseas, you'll find very warm weather in Spain, across the Canaries, as well as Madeira, unusually warm for the time of year. Portugal likewise, but some showery rain affecting southern parts of Portugal. Meanwhile, plenty of sunshine through Spain into the Alps, much of Italy as well, turning hotter here over the next few days. Staying breezy for Greece, particularly the islands, but most places enjoying long spells of sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
There's an interesting story, Charlie, in the Daily Mail. A 2-year report that claims racism in the UK countryside is getting worse, with abuse normalised and tolerated. What do you think of this academic research?
Rubbish. Well, it's a load of old bunk. Yes, yeah. 2 years, as you say. 2 years to interview how many people? 115. It took 2 years.
Very scientific.
And this is where, people often ask about, what you do when you go to university, or the tuition fees that people have been paying. University of Leicester, where this report was undertaken, have funded this 2-year holiday spree by the sounds of things and cobbled something together at the end. 115 people, that's nobody. But they've asked the question about, do you feel that the countryside is effectively exclusive in any kind of particular way?
Well, let me read this out. The report also claimed that non-verbal cues, such as incessant staring and unfriendly body language, made individuals from ethnic minority backgrounds feel unwelcome.
And no Wellington boots.
That's probably what they were staring at, yes.
Walking shoes. I'm a man with certain vintage. I've never owned a pair of walking shoes.
I haven't got walking shoes. I've got Wellington boots.
I've never owned a pair of walking shoes. I've got a pair of wellies.
Well, there you go.
A pair of trainers.
So we'd both be OK in the countryside.
It does not impede on your appreciation of the countryside having walking shoes or not.
Well, it depends how far you have to walk.
It's pathetic. Haven't these universities got better things to do?
Well, you would have thought so. But the idea that, the countryside is now all of a sudden racist, or the rural communities and our great countryside is all of a sudden exclusive, as I say, it's ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we... At 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Quick look at what the other stories that are making the news today away from Donald Trump. And the Charlie Kirk murder suspect has been in court. We've got James Price and we've got Susie Stride to review the papers this morning. Susie, what's the latest there?
Yeah, I mean, what they're saying here is that Charlie Kirk's murder suspect appeared wearing an anti-suicide vest. I mean, look, this whole story is just very sad, isn't it? It's very shocking. I mean, we were discussing beforehand, whether you agree or disagree is beside the point. It is just very sad that, he's lost his life through this.
Yeah, I think this guy who's done it has obviously just had his brain completely warped by being on these far left-wing websites. This is the person who was carving weird memes and internet in-jokes into bullet casings.
But now they've applied for the death penalty against him.
Yeah, well, I'm not entirely sure what you can do with someone who is so utterly brainwashed like this as to decide, I'm going to go and kill someone like this. It's a guy from a nice, loving, decent, small C conservative family who, after living with his transgender partner, decides that he's going to go and kill this person. And they've also released a transcript of a text conversation between him and the transgender partner. It looks to me a little bit like they're trying to help them make sure that this person had no idea about it.
Susie, we say we're going to talk about other stories outside Trump today, and here's the headline screaming out of the Daily Express today: $4 million to pay tax on state pension, and this is going to happen in 2 years' time.
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, look, we'll have a debate about whether this is true or not, but this is partly, to me, that we're in a very difficult economic situation. I don't think that's all on Labour. We've had 14 years of a Tory government, and we've had 1 year of a Labour government. You know, they're doing their best to turn it around, but we're not there yet. But I understand that this
Stop taxing us. I'm just going to say, stop taxing us. Create money. You know, listen, if someone came along and said, we're going to frack, it may be controversial, but at least they're creating money. But the only answer that this government seemed to have is tax, tax, tax.
I mean, look, let's also talk about another story today, which is completely related to this. We're going to hopefully have this massive technology deal with America that's worth billions.
What's that cost?
Well,
come on. The truth is, we said to Trump, come on, we'll give you a state visit if you give us a lot of business.
Yeah, but so what? Let him have his state visit and we're going to have loads of business. I'm cool with that, and half the country will be as well. I think this is going to create a lot of jobs, it's going to bring in a lot of money, and could be one of the things that helps to turn things around.
It's always great to have lots of foreign investment, but this isn't going to touch the sides of this problem. As you say, taxes, the highest level they've been since the Second World War. They're on a plan at the moment to be the highest level they've ever been. And what we really have is an addiction to spending. The first 5 or 6 years of that Conservative government was dealing with the last Labour deficit mess, and now we're dealing with the mess of COVID and the huge amounts of money that was spent to keep people propped up and businesses propped up through that.
So I have to beg to differ. It was a global economic crisis.
Yeah, and Britain went into it and it came out of it in a much worse situation because of Gordon Brown running deficits when they're going.
So loads of economists wouldn't agree with that. They would say that it was a global economic crisis started in America. Obviously not started by the Labour Party, otherwise the rest of the world wouldn't have been here.
James, you've got 10 seconds. Does man flu exist or not?
Yeah, I think the studies would show that sometimes a pregnancy can be so painful for a woman that they can start to understand the suffering a man goes through when he has a cold.
Okay, should say that.
Oh my
should
gosh.
say that 70%
I just need to apologise on behalf of
disagree
James.
with that.
Oh
Back
my
after
gosh.
the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning, drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing, blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts of that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop, and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm, and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M8 eastbound at junction 19 is closed due to emergency roadworks. Travellers should follow the signed diversion route. On the A1M northbound between junction 61 and junction 62, a broken down vehicle has closed one of two lanes. Motorists are advised to exercise caution. On the A4, 7 eastbound, a road traffic incident has closed all lanes between the A1075 and the A1074. Normal traffic conditions are anticipated to resume by 9:15 this morning. And on the trains, Northern buses are replacing trains between Corkicle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump has arrived in Britain for his historic second state visit, the highest diplomatic honour that this country can bestow upon a foreign leader.
Well, Ellie there live in Windsor at Windsor Castle, and we can report after touching down in Britain last night, the world awaits for Donald Trump to come face to face with King Charles, with all the pomp and pageantry Britain will bestow. And it's safe to say the president is more than happy.
Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right?
Well, let's remind ourselves of that moment when the Prime Minister handed President Trump his invitation from the King.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there.
Well, the President will be travelling to Windsor Castle later on this morning, and he will be treated to a ceremonial welcome and a lavish state banquet. I'll be live here outside Windsor Castle throughout the morning, bringing you the very latest.
And I'll be bringing you the other news happening around the world and in Britain from the studio here in London. And as you can see there, the President's arrival is not filling everyone with joy, as anti-Trump protests have been displayed on the castle. Those pictures projected there last night. So will they carry on throughout the day? Will they be allowed to?
The government's partial returns deal with France is yet to begin, as plans to remove them in the one-in, one-out deal are halted.
Prime Minister still facing scrutiny on his decision to appoint Peter Mandelson, with Kemi Badenoch accusing the PM and his Chief of Staff of having forced through Mandelson's appointment.
The Charlie Kirk suspect, Tyler Robinson, appears in court. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty.
The prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, Christian Bruckner, is released from prison in Germany.
And in sport this morning, Spurs and Arsenal both pick up wins in the Champions League, with Chelsea and Liverpool's turn tonight. Aston Villa score their first goal of the season, but they're knocked out the Carabao Cup on penalties to Brentford. And Team Europe prepare for the Ryder Cup with abuse on VR headsets. I'll explain later.
It's a wet and windy start out there this morning. Some places will turn brighter this afternoon, some will keep the rain. More details in the forecasts coming up soon.
Well, however you're watching, however you're listening, thanks for being there. I'm Eamonn Holmes.
I'm Ellie Costello, and this is GB News Breakfast.
I think that is cue Ellie. Ellie, who's
Well, it's
there
a wet and windy start here outside Windsor Castle, but it is going to be a warm royal welcome for President Trump when he arrives in Windsor in the next few hours. And there is a buzz in the centre of Windsor. You can actually see, because the sun has come up now on Windsor Castle, you can see the castle here behind me in all its splendour. You might be able to make out the armed police behind me as well, and I can see a number of police vehicles on the streets surrounding the castle. I've spent a lot of time in Windsor over the years, and I have never seen anything quite on this scale before. Thousands of police officers have been deployed in the River Thames, on the Long Walk. There are police officers that are on bikes, that are on horses, that are on foot. And last night here in Windsor, the streets were absolutely packed full of people. And there really was a divide in how people are feeling about this state visit. Some were noticeably excited. We had one lady drive past us yesterday who wound down her window and said, "Is he here yet? Is Trump here yet?" Literally on countdown, couldn't wait to hear that he had arrived in Britain. And then we did see protesters last night with their placards and their banners saying Trump is not welcome here. They made their voices heard last night. So certainly dividing the people of Windsor. And then, of course, we saw those images being projected onto Windsor Castle last night of Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump together. This is a sign, isn't it, that the Mandelson saga is still lingering over this state visit. But despite all of that, it is going to be a fantastic show of British pomp and pageantry, what this country does best, better than any other country in the world. So let's bring in now our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. I mean, this is an unprecedented second state visit, isn't it? But it's also unprecedented in terms of scale.
It absolutely is. The Guard of Honour, for example, which will be put on for President Trump in the quadrangle on the other side of the castle to where we are, 1,300 soldiers. That's the largest ever amount for a state visit here at Windsor Castle. We're also expecting 200 horses, a carriage ride for President Trump and the First Lady as well. And before President Trump departed on Air Force One yesterday, he described the UK as a very special place and that King Charles is his friend. And I think that is the key here. the royal family is really the British government's trump card, pardon the pun,
Yes.
when it comes to shoring up relationships between Britain and the United States, and all the trade deals and things that are going to happen at Chequers tomorrow is really going to, what's happening today here at Windsor could potentially help, because we know that King Charles has a love of pomp. He loves being wined and dined, although of course he's teetotal, so any cocktails he'll be drinking.
He? I didn't know that.
So any cocktails he'll be drinking, or any of the vintage wines that's going to be served at the state banquet later, he will not be partaking in. But of course, he is going to love the spectacle of it all, isn't it, Ellie? It's the theatrics of it, and being treated to a carriage ride, really, it's a dream come true, really, for President Trump. It's happening at Windsor because Buckingham Palace is being resurfaced at the moment, so it's not in central London. But what I think is quite telling, if you compare this to President Macron's state visits from a few months ago, where the President of France rode with the King, Prince and Princess of Wales through the streets of Windsor to cheering crowds, that's not happening. All of it is happening behind closed doors, behind the palace walls. We think for security reasons. Now, all of this, of course, was decided way before Charlie Kirk's assassination last week, that clearly it was decided that it would be better for President Trump to be behind closed doors within the Windsor Castle grounds, which are huge, let's be frank. But of course, it hasn't stopped the process, Ellie, as you were saying earlier. We've had the projections on the tower just behind us of President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. 4 people have been arrested on suspicion of malicious communications by Thames Valley Police. So it does show there is some resentment towards President Trump's here. But of course, the King's role is whoever the President of the United States is, he will use that soft power to make friendships.
Of course, and that is going to be the most important thing here, isn't it? And for the authorities, they will not want to run any risk. The safety of everybody is the utmost priority. But for the King and the Queen, it is a particular challenge for them, isn't it? Because, as you say, it's going to be different. It's going to be behind closed doors. How do they make President Trump feel as though he's got the full state visit? He's got all the bells and whistles, if you like. How are they going to pull out all of the stops? And also, how is the Queen? Because she wasn't at the Duchess of Kent's funeral yesterday. She was unwell. Is she even able to make it today?
Yeah, well, she had sinusitis when she was in Scotland, and she travelled back down to Scotland to Windsor Castle yesterday, and it was quite last minute, actually. We were told that she has decided to pull out of the Duchess of Kent's funeral yesterday. Now, sinusitis is an unpleasant disease, but it's not a serious disease, and from speaking to royal sources yesterday, they were pretty confident that the Queen would be able to carry out the full duties expected of her during a state visit over the next couple of days. I think what we can take from her pulling out of the funeral yesterday is she was just trying to pace herself, because of course she is in her late 70s and it's a lot of work she's got to do today hosting President Trump. As for the King, well, he has hosted many a state visit now during his reign. He of course helped his late mother, the Queen, host countless as well. So for him, it will be business as usual, regardless of that it's President Trump. He will just continue on as normal, showing the visiting head of state all the artifacts to do with the United States and the United Kingdom, small talk, allowing him to or helping him to inspect the military guard of honour as well. So it'll be business as usual for the King.
And the Ministry of Defence are certainly not being coy about it, are they, when they say this is going to be the largest military ceremonial welcome for state visit in the UK in living memory?
Yes.
I mean, this is going to be quite the spectacle, isn't it?
It is huge. As I said, like 1,300 soldiers, very similar to the coronation, actually. But then, of course, you've got the fly-past as well. F-35 jets from Britain and the United States flying together over Windsor Castle. We've got the Red Arrows as well, of course, very familiar to all of us during the pomp and pageantry events. They'll be flying over Windsor Castle too. It is everything that is going to make President Trump feel like the most important person in the country at that moment in time. Having the hospitality of His Majesty the King for somebody like President Trump can really go a long way when it comes to doing what Prime Minister Starmer would perhaps like tomorrow during this trade negotiations.
Yeah, a diplomatic ace card, you might say. Thank you very much, Cameron. You'll be with us throughout the morning. Well, don't go anywhere, as I'll be live from Windsor Castle, bringing you the latest on the President's second state visit.
In the country and the rest of the world today. Aidan McGivern, what sort of weather is Ellie going to face there, and the President, of course, at Windsor?
Expect warm spells. with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning, drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter and, in fact, many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England and Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing, blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop, and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome back to Windsor Castle, where the sun has risen over the royal residence, and we are counting down the hours until President Trump and the First Lady Melania Trump arrive in Windsor to be greeted by the Prince and Princess of Wales and then the King and Queen to start this historic second state visit. It is going to be a spectacular day full of pomp and pageantry, and we'll be here live across the day on GB News. I'm delighted to welcome back my panel now, Chairman of Republican Overseas UK, Greg Swenson, and the royal commentator at the Daily Express, Pandora Forsyth. Morning again, you two. Greg, we have just been speculating, haven't we, about the guest list for tonight's state banquet, and I said, have you got an invite?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. Next year, or next time, I should say. Look, I don't have any inside track on that, but I do know for sure that several cabinet members will be here. So whether it's Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Commerce, I would imagine the Vice President is coming as well. So it will be quite an entourage, to say the least.
So we're expecting it will be British people or American celebrities who have a connection to Britain who would like to be at this state banquet. So somebody who is Republican and residing in Britain. Can you think of anyone off the top of your head?
Well, I know Rupert Murdoch came to town, and so I assume he'll be there. I know he's been running around London a little bit, but as far as Americans go, no, I don't really have any. I can speculate, but I would imagine some, big business leaders, big CEOs, especially if they're making announcements on Thursday. If anybody, if it's Google or there could be some CEOs in town. That's for sure. And that was the case in 2019. So I expect that to happen again.
Well, I'm afraid we are just going to have to speculate, aren't we? Because it's not out. The list isn't official.
I'm still waiting for my invitation.
There's still time, Greg. There's still time. President Trump, if you're listening, Greg would quite like an invite to the state banquet tonight. But of course, it would probably come from the King, would it not?
Yeah, that's true. I think the palace, I'm told, really controlled most of that. Now, I'm sure, obviously, the embassy had a list, or the White House had a list, but for the most part, it's controlled by the palace.
Okay. Pandora, how is this going to look different to the 2019 state visit of President Trump? It's remarkable, isn't it? This has all happened in just 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, it is remarkable, totally unprecedented. And if I'm speaking up slightly, we're making sure that Windsor Castle is looking particularly clean this morning for when Trump arrives. But listen, it is unprecedented, and we are going to be expecting a lot of the senior royals here today, and especially especially going into the state banquet. Of course, we don't know, as you said, all of the guest list, but do expect, obviously, the Prince and Princess of Wales, expect the King and the Queen, and moreover, expect them to be throwing absolutely everything at this. They know it's unprecedented, and it's unprecedented for a reason. This is the second time that Trump has come over. He's obviously a very busy man, and the last time he came here, he was hosted by the late Queen just before the COVID-19 pandemic happened. But a particular note here is when he was here previously, Prince Andrew, for 2 of the 3 days, was very much in the mix and was apparently Buckingham Palace's secret weapon. Well, how times have changed, significantly so. He lives actually only sort of just behind us within the Windsor Great Park, but he won't actually be there this evening, and they very much want to, not only the royals, but Trump, distance himself away from that whole situation and anything vaguely to do with Epstein.
You alluded there to the respect and the high regard that President Trump regarded the late Queen in back in his first state visit in 2019. We actually got a sense of how he feels about King Charles last night before he boarded that plane, talking about him as an elegant man and a dear friend that he's known for many years. What did you think of his language, talking about the King?
I mean, it was very Trump-like, wasn't it? How amazing he is. But also what I would say is they do have a particularly special relationship as friends. When there was that assassination attempt on Trump, the King actually sent him a handwritten note. He didn't have to do that, but he did, and there have been apparently letters back and forth as friends. So this visit will not only be a state visit, but actually it's 2 families coming together, essentially, and also catching up on a personal level. But they have to be so careful here because the King previously was known for slightly meddling in politics, but now, actually, isn't it funny how times have changed? They need him more than ever on the political scale right now to move the conversation on from what's happening in the UK at the moment with Starmer, and it comes at a particularly sensitive time for the government.
But I do apologise for the audio here. As you can imagine, it is absolutely bonkers outside Windsor Castle. Preparations, last-minute preparations underway. As you can hear, the street cleaners are making sure that the streets are sparkling clean for President Trump. He won't even see them, though, will he? Because it will all be inside the castle. But I'm sure for all of the tourists that will be gathered here in the streets, there's extra effort being put into all of the proceedings that we're going to see take place today. Greg, away from the pomp and pageantry and the state banquet, there are political gains to be made for the government during this historic second state visit. We've already heard about this Google investment, £5 billion in AI. Rachel Reeves reacting to this, saying this is a sign of confidence in the British economy. Would you agree with that assessment, or would you say there's more the pull factor of Donald Trump?
I think there's more diplomacy involved here. And $5 billion for Google's kind of a rounding error, so it's not a major investment. In the U.S. right now, we're talking $500 billion in terms of AI investment, data centers, construction. And keep in mind, I think this will bring up, or it will allow the president to bring up an important topic, which the electricity costs for in the United Kingdom are 4 to 5 times higher than they are in the U.S. Why would you build a data center in the United Kingdom? And I think that's something that should be addressed, because 20 years ago, the UK was energy independent. And I think the president has shown how you can get back to energy independence or reduce energy prices. That's really important, especially with the AI and especially with data centers. The highest cost for a data center is electricity, mostly for air conditioning. So I think in addition to running the system. So, look, this is something that is important. I think in spite of the president's emphasis on investing in America and building in America, this is his closest relationship. It's a great ally. So I think he's encouraged some of the companies to say, he's probably said, invest in America, but maybe leave a little something for the UK.
It's been a surprising friendship, hasn't it, between Sir Keir Starmer and President Trump. Have you been surprised by that? And do you think that the Lord Mandelson saga will potentially threaten that when we get to the press conference tomorrow, Checkers?
Yes and no. I think the Prime Minister has done a great job of managing the relationship, and it also demonstrates that President Trump is quite a diplomat. I mean, he's not afraid to reach out. And so I think, again, the PM has done a great job, and it's a testament to the relationship, but it's also a testament to both of those leaders for transcending political differences. You know, they're obviously on, parties of the left and right, and yet they've put the special relationship above that. In terms of the distraction with Epstein, I don't think so. I think that, it's much more about the timing, and unfortunately the information that has come out in the last few weeks about the former ambassador's connections to Epstein, but that doesn't implicate the president. If anything was going to come out about President Trump, besides the silly protesters last night, if anything was going to come out, it would have come out in October of 2024 when the Democrats were in power and had that information during the campaign. I guarantee it, they would have leaked it, or they would have publicly announced it, anything they could do to defeat President Trump.
Greg Swenson, Pandora Forsyth, thank you very much. Really good to have you with me this morning. Well, do stay with us throughout the morning on this special edition of GB News Breakfast. We'll be here in the run-up, the countdown, that historic second state visit from President Trump and the First Lady, Melania Trump. Back to you, Eamonn.
Really just got some national statistics. They're saying that the rate of the Consumer Prices Index, inflation has remained unchanged, 3.8%, but food price rises accelerate for another month. So UK inflation remaining at 3.8%, but food price inflation is climbing for the 5th consecutive month. Small increases across a range of vegetables, cheese and fish items there, but we're getting some respite in the cost of airfares after the summer holidays, so it's going slightly downward, which is affecting the overall figure. So UK inflation 3.8%. Don't know if we can help you in some way with that, but maybe the Great British Giveaway may give you some respite now. Your chance to be our biggest winner to date. It's a prize package. It is worth over £104,000 plus a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. All that plus Hayley Sparks. What more could you want?
It's our biggest, greatest Great British Giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000.
You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model.
We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Windsor Castle for this special edition of GB News Breakfast, counting down the hours now until President Trump arrives for his historic second state visit. But of course, the state visit comes at a fortuitous time for the embattled Prime Minister as he faces pressure from within his own party over the Lord Manderson scandal, as well as his migrant deal with France facing a serious blow. In the one-in, one-out migrant flight is grounded by a High Court ruling. Well, I'm now joined by political commentator Jennifer Powers to get into all of this. And Jennifer, before we discuss the politics of the day, I was just wondering how you were feeling. Because you're American-born, aren't you? You've been in Britain the best part of 3 decades now. How do you feel about this second state visit? You excited?
I'm actually really excited. I pulled out the cowboy boots to wear to Windsor.
Did you really?
Yes. Thought I'd really get into the spirit of the thing. It's like when the US plays England in the World Cup or something.
Oh,
it's very rare the two countries come together, and it's yeah, I'm excited. I'm delighted to be here.
And Americans are absolutely fascinated, aren't they, by the pomp and the pageantry. I was having a very quick look at the US media outlets this morning. Front page of all the newspapers. I mean, it's the front story on their websites. Are they bewildered by it? Are they shocked? Or
They're fascinated.
Fascinated.
Yeah. I mean, listen, you know, people may have their own views about Harry and Meghan now, but when they got married, this was a major media event in the US. I mean, my mum got up at something like 2 in the morning to watch the wedding ceremony. So Americans do love British history. They feel a special relationship. I know that's a hackneyed phrase that's used a lot, but Americans have a real soft spot for Britain, and that's true of the president as well. We've heard about how much he loves his country and how excited he is to be here.
Yeah, he certainly is, isn't he? Let's get into the politics of the day, shall we? Inflation is remaining the same, 3.8%. It's sticky. It's going to be a headache for the Chancellor.
My goodness, the government will be disappointed, but they should not be surprised because this is a government that has raised national insurance in the last budget. We continue to have incredibly high energy prices due to our net zero policies. So the fact that the cost of living remains high will be a frustration from the Chancellor. But if she wants to change it, she probably needs to do something about it, and that means making Britain more competitive.
Well, she's actually quite happy this morning talking about the Google investment. She says it's a boost to Britain. £5 billion it is in AI in the next 2 years. Rachel Reeves saying this is a vote of confidence in the British economy. What do you make of that?
Well, this is one area where I do feel that the UK economy has an opportunity to grow, and it's good to see the government embracing that by welcoming this tech investment. I think the number is going to be truly staggering when we have all these announcements put together by the end of the trip. But even that is in doubt. When I talked about high energy prices a moment ago, electricity is such a key component to run these data centers and AI. So welcoming investment, the government will be pleased, but we need to make sure we stay competitive.
And just looking ahead to potential political risks and the press conference tomorrow at Chequers, this Lord Mandelson saga rolls on. Do you think it could potentially derail or just overshadow this trip?
I think there will inevitably be questions put about the relationship and about Peter Mandelson's departure, but ultimately the shared objectives and the shared values between the two countries will overcome any sort of awkwardness around Mandelson's departure. At the end of the day, politics is all about the now, and Peter Mandelson, and he will hate hearing this, but Peter Mandelson is now part of history. He's not about this state visit, and he's not about the future of the UK-US relationship.
Okay, Jennifer Powers, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much. Now, do stay with us. Still to come, GB News' Cameron Walker is going to join us live from Windsor as the royals prepare to welcome President Donald Trump for this historic state visit.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The exit slip road from the M73 southbound to the M74 southbound at Junction 1 Maryville is restricted due to ongoing bridge repairs, resulting in anticipated delays for motorists. Additionally, an accident has occurred on the M6 northbound between junctions 25 and 26. Meanwhile, travel on the A47 eastbound is halted between the A1075 and the junction with the A1074 due to a collision. In train services, Merseyrail is experiencing disruptions between Hunts Cross and Liverpool Central, and Northern is providing bus replacements for train services from Corkicle to Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
you want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
We've already covered wins for Arsenal and Spurs in the Champions League last night. Paul's with me now to talk about the World Athletics Championships, which are going on at the moment in Tokyo. Yep. And a bit of a problem. I think the time factor maybe affects how many of us are watching.
Well, yes, it's afternoon. It's not bad if you're around in the afternoon. It's not bad for then. But we've got no medals yet, Eamonn. Nothing yet. But I've got a few bits and pieces from yesterday, so have a look at this. 110-metre hurdles, Colin Jackson's event. So here we are. This is Colin Jackson's event, 110 hurdles. Cordell Hinch wins this from the USA. Now, he wins it. Orlando Bennett and Tyler Mason from Jamaica, silver and bronze. Hinch wins it in 12.99 seconds, which is actually 0.08 of a second slower than when Colin Jackson won it in 1993.
Really?
So Jackson ran faster than that. Now, have a look at this fella. I'm not really so much worried about the hammer. I'm more worried about the hairstyle. Okay, let's go. Well, we've lost him there for a second. Where's he gone? So this is the men's hammer. That's better. I don't have the mullet. I wish I could. Ethan Katzberg of Canada, new championship record at 84.7 metres. Look at that hair. How can you do you reckon that aids the spin? The hairstyle?
Well, he doesn't care because he's thrown a good one, hasn't he?
Yeah, but he loves the hair, doesn't he? There we are. So there's a win there for the Canadian. And finally, the high jump, because I always love the high jump. That was my sport, the high jump.
The Fosbury flop.
That's exactly, since Dick Fosbury, that's what they all do. Yeah. This is New Zealand's Hamish Kerr. 2 metres 36.
Ooh.
In old money, 7.7 feet over the top.
That's incredible.
And he won the gold medal there.
Imagine rising from nothing, rising from ground level up 7.7 feet.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It's just,
and it was all down to Dick Fosbury in '68, who turned his back, leapt up, over backwards, and now nobody ever does anything else.
OK, Ryder Cup. We're all going to get in the mood now for the Ryder Cup. When is it? This weekend?
10 days away. No, this weekend after next.
Yeah. OK. So tell me about this. You were talking about the European players have been provided with VR headsets.
Well, it's in Bethpage Black is the name of the course in New York, and you know it's what the crowds are going to be like. They're bad enough at the best of times in America, and they're expecting the New York crowds just to be really nasty, so they've got to prepare for it. So what they've actually done, they've got Rory McIlroy has been talking about this. They've got these VR headsets, so they put the things on, and it will then recreate people shouting and insulting them and imagining what it's like to play amongst it, how real it is. Apparently Rory said, they asked, how far do you want to go with this? You know, how bad do you want the insults to be? And he said, go as far as you want. I'm trying to develop a thick skin. So you can imagine having the job of going, yeah, Rory, you rotter. And it's like, no, do it worse. You...
Dirty rudder.
Yeah, you fella. And so anyway, so that's what they're doing. So they're doing that to try and recreate it. Nothing's going to recreate. But I can't wait for the Ryder Cup because it's going to be one hell of a ride.
What an achievement would be for Europe to go there, to go to the States, face all that abuse and still win. That's a big ask.
And to smile, raise an eyebrow. Don't rise to the occasion. Just play. Don't rise to any of the nonsense, and just go and beat them, which they will hate. So let's hope that happens.
I'd be useless at that. I would be.
What if someone's shouting at you?
Oh yeah.
You'd react, wouldn't you?
I'd lift my club and got a problem?
Holmes has thrown his 4-iron at a spectator and he's rammed the ball down the back of his throat. God, that'd be great. I'd love to see you wind it back.
But we do want to mention, I know normally you mention birthdays today, but we do want to mention here with both of us, Desmond Lynham, the broadcaster, 83 today.
83. Well, I mean, you're friends with Des. What an absolute hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just want to say that. Happy birthday, Des, and many happy returns. Paul, thank you very much indeed. Pleasure. Appreciate it. Stay tuned. Ellie's going to be joined by Cameron Walker live at Windsor Castle. But first, attacks on state pensions. More on that and other stories in the papers. James Price, Susie Stride with that after this.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're thinking of avoiding the unsettled weather in the UK and heading overseas, you'll find very warm weather in Spain, across the Canaries, as well as Madeira, unusually warm for the time of year. Portugal likewise, but some showery rain affecting southern parts of Portugal. Meanwhile, plenty of sunshine through Spain into the Alps, much of Italy as well, turning hotter here over the next few days. Staying breezy for Greece, particularly the islands, but most places enjoying long spells of sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm not here to tell you what to think. I'd much rather hear what you have to say. So send in your opinions to gbviews@gbnews.com. Keep them clean, and you never know, I might read them out. With my panel here on Jubes & Co, we debate, we get stuck into the issues of the day on a show where all views are welcome, especially yours. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
We've been here for a few hours now, and every hour there's just more and more people here coming to celebrate Gibraltar's National Day. You can see all around, it's a sea of red and white, people dressing as the flag. We've got huge flags up, including this massive Union flag, as you can see there, with the Gibraltar flag right in the middle of it. Everybody here today telling us all how proud they are to be Gibraltarian and how proud they are to be British. And one of those is Simi. Simi, you're Gibraltarian, you were alive at the time of that referendum.
Oh yeah.
You know, why is today so important?
Because it's important because we don't want to be any other nation. We've been brought up British. English is our main language everywhere, and our second language is Spanish. So we're very proud of being British and everything that's British with it. You know, the monarchs and the political parties, everything.
And tell us about this rosette as well.
This rosette used to belong to my father, my late father, and he used to wear this on National. This was done on National Day, and I wear it so that my father is close to my heart. For him, it was a very big day.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Simi, for talking to us. And just as you can hear from Simi there, just the sense of how important today is for all these people here celebrating being British.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
For the next 10 minutes, we're going to be chatting about stories that are making the papers this morning. James Price and we've got Susie Stride with their opinions on the stories. And guys, we've got to start with President Trump and what we may expect from him. And Sadiq Khan, he's spoken last night saying he fans the flames of division all over the world, which the Mirror translate this, Susie, into the ego has landed.
Yeah. I mean, obviously what they're pointing out there is he is, you know, you either love him or you hate him. You know, there's lots of people in this country that think he's great, think he's achieved things in a very short space of time, and then there are people that think he's very dangerous, and he is a very divisive figure. But
here's what I think: he could achieve a lot more. I mean, you take the Middle East for example, and you get that report yesterday which talked about the genocide that's going on. He could pick up the phone and he could have some input into that. Why is he not?
Well, this is the other thing I would say. I mean, I'm doing some work at the moment on the 20,000 children that have been stolen by Russia. You know, a story
stolen by Russia,
stolen
from Ukraine.
From Ukraine. You know,
why do they want to steal children? Just to convert them, or?
Well, there's different things going on. They're training them to build drones. There is fear that they could send them back. I mean, it is horrific, and the kids are as young as 8 years old. And you know, I mean, this story is definitely not being covered enough. I mean,
this sounds like Hitler Youth or something.
Exactly, it is. It's like Hitler Youth, and it's on our watch. And it's like, well, what are we doing? You know, this should be top of the agenda actually with Keir Starmer and Donald Trump, because actually we want to be saying these kids need to be immediately released. They shouldn't be used as pawns of war.
But what do you propose to do about that? I think this is as awful as anybody else does.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can go into deepest, darkest Siberia with a set of Western forces to get these children back is for the birds. It's very difficult. Trump has found it difficult to get any kind of purchase over Vladimir Putin. I think he's finally belatedly come to realise that Putin is as bad as everybody has said. But fundamentally, the only way you can stop tragedies like this happening around the world is to prevent the wars happening in the first place. And these wars didn't happen when Trump was in office. They happened when Biden was there because he was weak enough to let this war start.
The fact of the matter is we are where we are. We can't now say, oh, let's turn back time and prevent. This war is happening. On our watch, 20,000 children, some as young as 8. And what would I say needs to happen? Well, actually, we need to make sure this is top of the agenda.
But what does top of the agenda mean, though? This, what is able to actually be done? I agree these things are horrible.
Yeah.
The awful things happen all around the world. The problem that we've got is that Britain is not a very rich country anymore. It's not a very powerful country in lots of ways because we've let military forces degrade in all sorts of ways. But this idea that we just have to say, well, something has to be done is the same reason, I think, over-radical empathy, misplaced empathy, that has led to us having
I don't agree, I'm sorry.
Hang on, so many hundreds of thousands of people illegally crossing here, and then it's impossible.
No, I'm sorry, let's not conflate these two issues, sorry. I mean, I've got an 8-year-old son. Anyone watching who's got children looks at this story and just thinks this is horrific.
Of course it's horrific.
So, even if the point is, as part of negotiations, this should be top priority. It needs to be spoken about far more than what it is, and I definitely don't think we should ever fall into that place of being like, oh, what can we do, or what can we do? No.
No, I'm not saying we do nothing, but we have to be realistic about the ability that we've got on this. If Trump does have more cards to play than Britain does, and we should use
and that's what we're saying. Play your cards, do everything we can to bring these children back.
We're all talking about how amazing this state visit is for Donald Trump and whatever, but there's some shady deals being done. We haven't got deals on steel tariffs, for instance, but we have got deals on pharmaceuticals and technology and whatever. But what I'm getting today, reading the business pages in the papers, is inviting Donald Trump here for a couple of days is costing this country. It's not, I mean, we're having to give a lot away. We're having to give a lot away in terms of intellectual ownership on things, on rights for things, on all sorts of things. What do you make it of the deals?
Well, I think this is just a function of the size and scale of the US tech sector. It's so enormous and so powerful that it can just gobble up lots of these companies. And actually smaller tech companies, whether it's in Britain or in other places, one of their business aims often is just to get bought out by a Google or a Microsoft. So Britain's Britain's crown jewel of this would be something like DeepMind. Well, that's now Google DeepMind and has been for 11 years already. Or ARM, which is another kind of crown jewel, that ended up floating on the American stock exchange rather than the British one. And I think that what we should therefore do is create a business climate that incentivises businesses to grow and to scale here so that Britain can reap more of the benefits of that. We shouldn't do that, I think, in a protectionist way, but we should do it in a way that makes Britain the best place in the world to grow business, which at the moment, because of high energy cost and all of the kinds of regulations, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting you bring up about Google DeepMind because I think that is really sad. The fact is the UK was at the cutting edge of AI. He was actually a Greek Cypriot, the guy. And then it's like this brain drain to America, isn't it? And we lose all our best people. But that actually also is partly because we don't have... Our wealthy are not investing enough in new startups, etc. However, going back to this deal, maybe there is something bittersweet about it because I hear what you're saying, but it will create thousands of jobs, 30 billion worth of investment. But I never feel, I don't feel comfortable because you can't trust these big tech giants at all.
And then what they do, these big tech giants and whatever, the Star's reporting today on a kids leading a vampire lifestyle, James. We're breeding a nation of vampire kids who barely go outdoors because of new technology and things. Now, this is something that we will be immune to. We're not subjected to this. I don't think our generations would be. But I think that's quite scary, if true.
Yeah, and it's not even kind of cool, sexy vampires like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or anything. It is just this sort of ghoulish idea that people are set inside, I think, increasingly addicted to their mobile phones. And this, it's harmless in some senses because these kids are just having fun on these games and it's maybe more exciting than reading Narnia or whatever. But the really bad consequences of it can be seen with this Charlie Kirk assassination. This guy got himself totally radicalised on the internet, thinking, oh, this man is so evil, I must take my grandfather's gun and kill him. And that's the kind of the terrifying conclusion. There's an internet phrase now, touch grass, as in go outside, go and play some football, go and play some rugby, and actually breathe some fresh air and get off these things because they are addictive.
No, I think it is. I think it is, really problematic. And I think we need to have a bit of a sports revolution in this country. Do you know what I mean? Getting children out, playing football, playing rugby. But that also means we need to make sure that there's good access to sport. But that's what we want.
I was watching a show on Channel 4 on Sunday, Educating Yorkshire, where they go inside this school, and this lad, he was having problems with him in the classroom, whatever, but he was also a rugby, I think it was union player, and he was trying out for Wales, and he excelled. He had got no problems on the rugby pitch and whatever, and it was just amazing how sport brought him to life and gave a whole new person to this. Today, I was quite surprised. Robert Redford died yesterday. It was announced yesterday. You thought it would have made the papers yesterday, and that was it, done. Today, he's everywhere on the front pages of the papers. Were you aware, James, that this man was such an influence in the film world?
Yeah, it's really encouraging to see, isn't it? I think that we're losing that whole generation of greats. You were saying earlier, maybe only Clint Eastwood left. I'd perhaps add Michael Caine to that, a kind of great British actor still going. And Jack Nicholson, I think, as well. He retired a while ago, but you watch Nicholson and some of these guys really know how to act. And this is in a time before all the kind of CGI and everything else. But just to show he could do it, Robert Redford also starred in one of these big Marvel movies 10 years ago, and he knocked everybody off the screen on that as well.
Very good. I mean, he did inspire me to be a journalist with the film All the President's Men.
Which his company also produced, which I didn't realise until this morning. Robert Redford's production company made All the President's Men, so we've got him to thank for you.
The film I'd recommend is 3 Days of the Condor. You should just look it up. It's just marvellous. He goes out for his lunch and he comes back and everybody in his office has been shot through the head, and he gets the blame for it.
Well, I never knew this about him, but he lost his mum at a really young age and went off the vows, dropped out of university. So it's interesting. I mean, he came through quite a lot of difficulty, to be the person that he was.
One of his difficulties was his good looks.
That's true.
It worked for him for a while, a few years, and then it got to the stage where he was only regarded as the good-looking guy who acted in these films.
Yes, so often happens with actors, doesn't it? They get typecasted or whatever.
I've struggled with that in Westminster politics as well. Never taken seriously.
I can see that. Susie and James, thank you both very much indeed. You're going to be back in about 40 minutes' time. I'm here in the studio in London. Ellie is there at Windsor Castle this morning, reporting on the latest that is going to happen there in the atmosphere as it builds up. So we appreciate your company right through to 9:30 and this special edition of GB Breakfast.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning, drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact, many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing. Blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop, and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M73 southbound exit slip road to the M74 at Junction 1 Maryville is restricted due to bridge repairs. The on-slip from the A721 to the M74 southbound is closed, causing delays. In Wigan, the M6 northbound between Junction 25 and 26 has a significant incident, closing 2 of 4 lanes. The A47 eastbound in Norfolk between the A1075 and the A1074 is closed due to an accident. Motorists are advised to take alternative routes. And on the trains, there is disruption on the Gatwick Express between Haywards Heath and Wyvillsfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. a country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, you didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised. I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump has arrived in Britain for his historic second state visit, the highest diplomatic honour that this country can bestow upon a foreign leader.
Well, he touched down last night in England, and we're now waiting for him to come face to face with King Charles and all the pomp and pageantry that Britain will bestow on him. We can say, if judging by this reaction, that he's very happy.
Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace, and I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right?
Well, let's remind ourselves of that moment when the Prime Minister handed that invitation to President Trump from King Charles III.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there.
Well, just a few hours now until the President travels to Windsor Castle. Later on this morning, he's going to be treated to a ceremonial welcome and a lavish state banquet. I'll be here live at Windsor Castle throughout the morning, bringing you the very latest.
And I'll be here in the studio in London talking about all the other news that is affecting the country. And there you see protests in Windsor at the President's arrival that projected onto the walls of Windsor Castle last night, and we'll see if there's going to be any more of that throughout the day.
The government's partial returns deal with France is yet to begin, as plans to remove them in the one-in, one-out deal are halted by the High Court.
Prime Minister still facing scrutiny on his decision to appoint Peter Mandelson, with Kemi Badenoch accusing the Prime Minister and his Chief of Staff of having forced through Lord Mandelson's appointment.
Charlie Kirk suspect Tyler Robinson appears in court. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty.
The prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, Christian Bruckner, will be released from prison in Germany later today.
And in sport, Tottenham Hotspur and Arsenal both pick up wins in the Champions League, with Chelsea and Liverpool's turn tonight. Aston Villa, they scored their first goal of the season, but they're knocked out of the Carabao Cup on penalties to Brentford. And former champions Josh Kerr and Jake Whiteman go in the final of the 1500 metres at the World Athletics Championship this afternoon.
It's a wet and windy start out there this morning. Some places will turn brighter this afternoon, some will keep the rain. More details in the forecasts coming up soon.
It's just gone 8 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Eamonn Holmes here in the studio in London. This is a very special edition of GB News Breakfast.
Well, good morning from Windsor Castle, where today history is going to be made. That unprecedented second state visit from President Donald Trump. This is the oldest occupied castle in the world. What a location, what a spectacular castle for this second state visit to take place today. And behind me, actually, the Royal Standard is flying over the Round Tower, and that shows us that King Charles is in residence. We can only imagine that he is preparing now for this monumentous day, ready to host this day that is steeped in tradition, in symbolism, in ceremony, that display of soft power. I'm joined now by our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker. It is going to be a magnificent day, isn't it, Cameron?
A magnificent day, a magnificent royal standard, as you say, Ellie, the great royal standard, which is far larger than the normal royal standard used for state occasions. Of course, it is unprecedented. The President Trump is being treated to a second state visit. He describes the UK before he left the United States as a great country. He described King Charles as his friend, and really the royal family over the next day or two is basically the ace card in the deck that the British government has to play when it comes to shoring up relationships with America, potentially altering the trade deal tomorrow or shoring up relationships. But for King Charles, it's wielding his soft power. And inside that castle, the oldest occupied castle in the world, as you say, Ellie, he is going to be treated, President Trump, to the largest guard of honour that has ever been given to a US president. So we're expecting 1,300 soldiers on display, 200 horses. Of course, we're going to have gun salutes in Windsor Great Park, as well as in the Tower of London. For the President will also be treated to a carriage procession into the quadrangle of Windsor Castle too. So the pomp and pageantry, which we know President Trump loves, he's going to get it, and then some, Ellie, put it that way. And then, of course, what is slightly different to President Macron's state visits, which happened a few months ago here at Windsor Castle because Buckingham Palace is being resurfaced, is that all of it's happening behind closed doors. So President Macron had a big carriage ride through the streets of Windsor to waving crowds, but not for President Trump. That's all happening within the guarded perimeter of Windsor Great Park. So the public are not going to be able to see President Trump in person, but of course our TV cameras will be capturing it all for us here on GB News.
OK, Cameron Walker, thank you very much. You're going to be with us throughout the morning. And of course, we're looking ahead to the state banquet tonight. Well, joining us now is leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey. Thank you for joining us on the programme, Sir Ed. And you won't be at the state banquet tonight, will you? You've rejected your invitation. Why?
Well, I've been a supporter of the state visit. In fact, I propose that a state visit should be offered to President Trump even before the Prime Minister gave him the invitation from the King, because I think we can use the pomp and ceremony to influence Donald Trump. But I thought long and hard about whether I should go to the banquet, and my concern is that the government, when they're talking to Donald Trump, may not land some really key messages, particularly on Gaza and ending the humanitarian crisis there. You know, President Trump is the only person in the world who could pick up the phone to Prime Minister Netanyahu and say, stop the killing, get the ceasefire, and President Trump could pick up the phone to the Qatari government and Gulf states and get the hostages released. So I hope that by getting this in the debate, by putting pressure on our government, when they talk to Donald Trump, they'll be able to get that message over, and hopefully, I'm not sure if he's going to listen, but at least we could use the influence we get from the pomp and ceremony to do something good.
I understand why you're doing what you're doing, but here's the question. Will he even notice that you're not there?
He won't notice, and not least because, you know, I've been to these state banquets in the past, had a real privilege and honour to go, and you don't get a chance visiting head of state unless you're the Prime Minister or at the top table, and I'm not. So he won't miss that I'm not there. The key issue is, like we're doing now, getting the media and putting pressure on our government to make the points that I think are needed for our country. You know, President Trump has not been a reliable ally for the UK. I say that with some regret, because I've been a real strong fan of Britain's special relationship with the USA. But under this president, we've seen tariffs on our economy, hitting workers here. We've seen undermining of our defence and security arrangements, particularly his attitude to President Zelensky and Ukraine, and his warm relationship, unbelievable, with Vladimir Putin. And so I no longer can say that the President of the United States is a reliable ally, but we have to use every card, every trick to get him to do the right thing. And given he's got this critical role, I hope the government, the media and so on will raise this issue while he's here, given his pivotal role.
But he is our closest ally, isn't he? And we have that deal with the US. The UK has that special deal before anybody else. You can see in the second state visit today the close ties between our two nations. President Trump is democratically elected as the US president. He is visiting our country. Why would you reject that invitation? What do you say to people who say that's disrespectful of our closest ally, and it's also disrespectful to King Charles, who has extended that invitation to you?
Well, let's deal with King Charles first. I completely respect the monarchy. I wrote to him privately about my decision, and that was the biggest challenge I had when I wrestled with the idea, because I got such a high regard for our king. But I wanted to get a message over and get through our government, who will have the chance to talk to President Trump, that he needs to do the right thing. You're right, our relationship with America is so important. That's why I argued for the state visit in the first place. But we have to use that special relationship, don't we? For our own country, for our economy, for our security, and for getting peace in other parts of the world. You know, President Trump says he wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, let him earn it. Let him get peace in Gaza. Let him end the humanitarian crisis in the way that I have argued for.
Do you think that he is a man who could simply pick up the phone and tell Netanyahu, hey, lay off?
Oh, 100%. You know, the US basically funds so much of the Israeli defense organization and equipment and so on. He's got all the cards if he wants to use them. But it's not just Netanyahu. He's got to phone up the Qatari government and the Gulf states to put pressure on the appalling terrorist organization Hamas. Those hostages must be released as part of any peace deal. But interestingly, again, Donald Trump is the one who the Qatari government and the Gulf states would listen to, and they have huge influence over Hamas. So given he has this power and influence, he should be using it. He should stop this horrible situation for the hostages, for the Palestinians. He chooses not to, and what I'm saying is, let's make this an issue. Let's get the message over to President Trump. Let's get him to do the right thing.
Can I ask you about this one-in, one-out deal that the government has implemented? It's been dealt a major blow this week. It looks as though it's one-in and can't get one-out deal. There's this one migrant who was meant to be sent back to France. The High Court has blocked that deportation. This individual claims he'd been made destitute if he returned to Paris. Why can't we deport someone back to France?
Yeah, it's a disaster, isn't it? I go back to the time before we left the EU, when under the Dublin Convention we could deport people, and there was no questions asked, there was no legal cases, it was all legally fine, and we had the deterrent. Before Brexit, we had returns agreements with 27 European countries. And isn't it ironic that the Conservatives now complain about this, and Nigel Farage complains about it? They campaign to pull us out of the legal agreement which enabled us to send these stop the illegal immigration and send people back who had no right to be here. The small boats issue wasn't an issue before Brexit. And so what I'd say to people is we need to rebuild those returns agreements properly, not in the way that current government has done.
Brexit, with
and we need
respect,
to
people
hold
were
to
crossing on
account.
lorries, Thread.
Well, yes, but we sorted that out, didn't we? And also we could return them. And what's really happened, we had a deterrent with those return agreements. You remember the deterrent? The Conservatives spent £800 million failing to build a deterrent with Rwanda. We had a deterrent before, and that meant fewer people came. And what's happening now is people claim asylum in one European country. They know they can't go to another because under that law they can be returned. Instead, they're coming to the UK, and the failure to be part of that returns agreement with Europe is acting as a magnet for people to come to the UK. So once again, the Conservatives should apologise, Nigel Farage should apologise for having made this problem far, far worse than it ever was before.
But meanwhile, we've got Donald Trump coming to the UK, Ed, and that gets us back to your problem and your protest that you're making, you know, quite visibly, that you're not turning up, you're not paying homage to him. Michelle O'Neill, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, she's doing exactly the same. She's faced a lot of flack because some people think that, oh, we could be missing out on trade deals for Northern Ireland here as well. So, in answer to this question, I just don't see what you're achieving. I understand how principled you are, and I think people should be more principled with a lot of these things. But what could you do short of pulling up the red carpet and saying, Trump, you're not welcome? What else can you do to make this effective?
Well, to be fair, a Northern Ireland minister will have presumably some time with President Trump or his entourage to argue the case for Northern Ireland. I wouldn't get that. But we need to, I think, call out President Trump far more, be far tougher. I've been very disappointed that, you know, have Nigel Farage cheerleading for Donald Trump and the Tories not criticising Donald Trump, and our government being quite craven, when actually other governments have stood up to Donald Trump. You know, Mark Carney in Canada, Albanese in Australia. And what we need to do is strengthen our hands so we can strong against the way Trump has treated our country, our economy, our defence. And the way you do that is you build alliances with others who believe in free trade, who believe in cooperation in a friendly way. And I think of our Commonwealth allies. I mentioned Canada, Australia, I could talk about India and others, our European allies, of course, and our friends in Korea, in Japan. And it's not that I don't want a great relationship with the US. I value that relationship huge. But we have a president of the United States who's unlike any other. And, you know, in his book, The Art of the Deal, he basically says, unless you're tough, he'll walk over. And that's what he's doing at the moment. We can be tougher with him if we show we have alternatives with what I've called an economic coalition of the willing with our European allies, with our Commonwealth allies, and with other democracies who are frankly outraged at the way Donald Trump is treating people.
Sir Ed David, got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for making yourself available to us and for your statements as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, back here in Windsor and outside Windsor Castle, it's fair to say that no expense has been spared when it comes to the protection of President Trump, of King Charles, and of course, everybody who is here. This is the UK's biggest security operation since the King's operation, and Thames Valley Police are leading the charge with officers drafted in from across the country. Well, Windsor is a sea, right on cue there, of fluorescent jackets and hats. Drones are ready to fly. We've spotted them flying over the castle in the last few hours, haven't we, Cameron? Mounted units on standby as well. Every measure in place and set to what is set to be a historic visit. Well, let's speak now to Professor of US Foreign and Security Studies, David Dunn. Good to see you this morning, David Dunn. Give us a sense of the scale of this operation. I mean, we can quite literally see it behind me, the number of officers that have been deployed to this.
Yeah, this is an unprecedented operation in its scale, partly because of the size of Windsor Castle, and partly because of the need to think about not just the perimeter defence of that area, but actually now the drone threat is a real concern, and therefore, you know, we have a no-fly operation for miles around. There will be police officers going right away from the perimeter, looking at areas where drones might be launched from to prevent them being part of that threat. And then, of course, there are counter-drone measures as part of it. And then we have also a police presence on the Thames. So this is a three-dimensional aspect to the way in which security has been thought about. Of course, the security problem is less here than it would be in America, because we haven't got an armed population in the way in which they have, and that represents the threat, as we saw with Charlie Kirk. But what we have is a sophisticated set of adversaries, and that's why the drone threat has been taken very seriously.
I mean, you mentioned there the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Would security measures have been constantly under review in light of the death of Charlie Kirk and also the assassination attempts on Donald Trump previously?
Yeah, I mean, what we have is a particularly in the United States, but actually it's also true here, a much more divided, polarised political debate, and the recourse to political violence from left and right is now a feature of modern politics. People are much more willing to take that into their own hands, and as a consequence of that, it's true for all public figures. They need to actually increase their security provision, and that's particularly true for the US president. I mean, really starting with President Obama, on a weekly basis there were hundreds of death threats coming into the American president, and that has increased since then. And of course we've seen that manifest itself in reality for Trump in 2 attempts on his life. So his signature open-air event, public rally, is now a thing that he's curtailed hugely, and when he does do these now, he's behind very thick bulletproof glass, and they take every aspect of his security very seriously, because what we had in Butler, Pennsylvania, it was a set of protocols whereby the Secret Service dealt with the immediate area, but the local police were responsible for the wider area, and clearly in Butler, Pennsylvania, the wider police weren't up to the job, and therefore those protocols and those measures are having to be rewritten to actually make sure that at every level, presidential security and indeed politicians' security in general are more thoroughly examined, because the nature of the threat is increased.
And David, we know that this is going to look vastly different from President Macron's state visit earlier on in the year, when he came out of Windsor train station. He was in a carriage procession. It went through the streets of Windsor. This is going to look very different indeed, isn't it? There will be no public-facing element of this state visit. Do you think that that has been chosen specifically because of security?
Well, there are two aspects to this. Obviously, security is a major feature of that, and he wouldn't be able to ride in an open carriage if it wasn't in an entirely secure environment. I mean, you know, right back to Kennedy made the fateful decision to ride in an open-top car. He said, "It's a nice day in Dallas, why don't we take the roof off?" He didn't live long to regret that decision, and ever since then, US presidential security has been entirely for motor transport done in a bulletproof armoured vehicle. So when Obama came to Buckingham Palace, he travelled up the Mall in that armoured car. But the other element of this is that in order to give Trump a genuine experience, they're doing it entirely in the grounds of Windsor Castle in a sealed environment. But the other aspect of that is he's also avoiding the crowds, because there would be protests, and they're keen to avoid those protests. There will be protests today in London against Trump, and one of the reasons they're keeping him out of London is to avoid those protests, so that he actually has an entirely positive experience in Windsor, and that's the dual aspect of it is security and protests.
Okay, David Dunn, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you very much for your time on Breakfast.
Always a pleasure.
Well, don't go anywhere, as the Washington editor for The Times, Katie Balls, is going to be with me here live outside Windsor Castle. But first, let's get a check now on your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning. Drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing. Blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day. Still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
And with the time coming up to 8:25, we say hello. A very good morning to you, wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening. You're very welcome with you until 9:30 this morning, this very special edition of GB News Breakfast. And a very special competition, the Great British Giveaway. It has never been worth so much. You could be our biggest winner to date. It's a prize package worth over £104,000. There's a motorhome involved in this and £30,000 in tax-free cash. All of that, plus Hayley Sparks to explain everything.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Now do stay with us. Still to come, the Washington editor for The Times and The Sunday Times, Katie Balls, will be here with me live outside Windsor Castle, counting down the hours until President Trump arrives here for his historic second state visit.
And we're also standing by to speak very shortly to the Shadow Science and Technology Secretary, Julia Lopez, for the Conservatives. But you're watching GB News on this Wednesday morning. Thank you for your company. Back after this.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The cost of parking, it's increased by, wait for it, 500%.
And they've done that overnight without consultation, right?
Yeah.
So it now costs £4.85 an hour. right? And what's that going to do? It's going to stop people visiting. And it's not easy to get around York, I have to say. One road in, one road out type thing, congestion around the place. Yes, there's car parking spaces, but goodness me, I mean, this is obviously very, very controversial, and these are the sort of taxes, indirect taxes, that come on all of us. It's now going to cost us so much money just to get there, just to see there. Tell us more.
That's right, Eamonn, and the City of York Council have introduced this to try and reduce congestion, to try and get more people on buses, more people cycling to go shopping. But of course, that infrastructure hasn't been put in place. There's not been extra buses put on. There's not been extra bike racks for people to park. And certainly when you're doing a shop, a lot of the shops here are greengrocers, butchers. How are you going to carry all that on a bike? I'd like to introduce you to Karen now. She's just come to pay for parking, expecting that it was going to be 80p. How do you feel when you've just seen this price rise today?
I am really annoyed. I've come out with enough money to pay basically for 2 hours. I'm having my hair done, which then, knowing now that this is, say, triple what it would have been, then my online payment isn't working. So I'm effectively not able to pay, which is really, really, really annoying.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Yeah.
Champions League, I reckon.
Champions League.
I reckon Champions League.
Yeah, OK. Champions
night.
League, it was back in action last night.
Yeah.
Arsenal, Spurs are who we've got our attention on. Paul's here to tell you more.
Atletico Bilbao, who I mentioned that players for Bilbao are only from the Basque region. They will only have players for the Basque region. I don't think there's anything like that anywhere else in the world.
No, I agree with you. I think that's amazing.
It's
purified, isn't it?
It really is, but, is it cut enough for your nose to spite your face? But they won't. That's just the way they are. So they will only have players from the area.
But it used to be, when you look at international teams and, it was, born and bred and all that sort of thing. Now, it sometimes makes me laugh when you see who there is connected 5 times detached down the line.
That's it. And you wonder how they truly feel the club, because that's it. When you want fans, they look at players, they want the player to love the club that they're at, whereas many of them is just a job. Arsenal won 2-0. That's a really romantic way of looking at it, but Arsenal won 2-0.
But it's the way Arsenal did it. They brought on 2 substitutes, didn't they? And they got themselves that firepower.
That's right. Trossard and Martinelli came on, and that's what it's about, having strength in depth. It's interesting because Captain Black, our friend Mikel Arteta, was saying it's like rugby union having starters and finishers. So that's what Eddie Jones was saying with England Rugby Union. The fact that instead of just having a team, I think it's probably a polite way of when you put on the bench to say, you're a finisher. You're not a we need you at the end, because that's it. There's so many different players, small margin, starters and finishers, and that's the way they do it.
Ole Solskjaer says that Alex Ferguson used to, people say, are you not annoyed that you're not playing? And he said, no, because he says, and if we still haven't scored by then, I'll put Ole on and he'll get us the winner.
Yeah.
And he said that used to really lift him and think he trusts me to do that, and that's what I'll do. That is my job.
Well, do you remember the original super sub? At Liverpool.
Fairclough.
David Fairclough at Liverpool. And that's what he was used as, the amount of times super sub. And I always wonder, like you say, I just wonder if you're a player thinking, well, I'd rather start. But you're the super sub.
You're the impact player.
You are the impact player. So anyway, Spurs beat Villarreal yesterday. It wasn't a great spectacle. It wasn't very exciting, but 4th clean sheet in 5 games for Spurs, which is certainly a lot better than things were before. Crazy goal. The goalkeeper just threw the ball in the back of his net. It was really bizarre. There was about 50 fans from Villarreal there. I was expecting the whole yellow submarine. There was going to be a wall of yellow. And I'm like, where are And it's like a little family sitting in the corner. So there was hardly anybody there.
That was it.
But Thomas Frank was very happy. I tell you, a few other games in the Champions League which I hadn't mentioned, which have been crazy. Now, Karabag from Kazakhstan went to Benfica yesterday. They were 2-0 down. First time Karabag's been in the Champions League. Ended up winning 3-2. Incredible result. Juventus played Borussia Dortmund. Now, it was a boring first half, 0-0. Then Dortmund score 4 goals. They're 4-2 up. And then, who comes back? Juventus score in, this is like the 92nd minute. They're 4-2 down, score 2 goals right at the end. So incredible result for them as well.
Tonight you've got Liverpool in action, you've got Chelsea in action as well. We may see that Newcastle signing from Liverpool play tonight.
Isak, yeah, playing for Liverpool. That's Atletico Madrid they play. Chelsea away in Munich. So they're playing Harry Kane's Bayern Munich tonight. Nicholas Jackson, who signed for Bayern Munich from Chelsea, could well be playing against his old club as well.
Is pudding throwing an actual sport?
I think it's the future of sport, Eamonn. Black pudding throwing.
Black pudding?
Yeah, it's not just pudding throwing, it's black pudding. It's actually black pudding's been thrown into Yorkshire puddings. Have a look at this. Here we go.
That's like a meal.
It is. The secret there, this is the World Black Pudding Throwing Championship in Ramsbottom, Lancashire. Jed Flanagan of Salford.
Oh, look at those black puddings.
Look at those lovely black puddings. So they throw a black pudding at a plinth, which is stacked with 12 giant Yorkshire puddings, and you've got to knock off the Yorkshire pudding with your black pudding. Underarm throws only, and it goes back to the 16th century, apparently when there was no ammunition left during the War of the Roses. So I don't know whether they just said, look, we've got no arrows, just chuck your puddings.
A lot of hard black puddings.
There we are, that's all we've got.
I like a black pudding. As a matter of fact, I had a black pudding on Sunday, but then when you think of what it is...
I know, I try not to think about it. I came to black pudding late in life.
Cow's blood.
It is.
That's what it is.
Haggis, black pudding, all that stuff, but there we are.
All that stuff. Awful.
That's it. Well, it's not bad. It is quite awful, some say.
OK. Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely. So now we're going to go out and about and see what you're facing if you hit the roads today. Have a look.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists planning to traverse the M73 southbound should note that the exit slip road to the M74 southbound at Junction 1 Maryville is restricted due to bridge repairs. The on-slip from the A721 to the M74 southbound is closed, likely causing delays. In Durham, a broken-down vehicle is causing significant delays on the A1M northbound between junctions 61 and 62. In Norfolk, all lanes are closed on the A47 eastbound due to a collision. And on the trains, there are Gatwick Express delays between Haywards Heath and Wyvillsfield. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Now, do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be joined by Shadow Secretary for Science, Tech and Innovation, Julia Lopez, to discuss today's all-important state visit for President Donald Trump.
And we'll also be talking about what's making the news with James Price and Susie Stride. All that to come after this.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News Breakfast with me, Eamonn Holmes, here in London, and Ellie Costello from Windsor Castle. And joining us now is Shadow Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology. We say hello, good morning and welcome, Julia Lopez.
Hi.
Julia, all the affirmation that's been given to President Trump today, and you could look at this and say that this state visit is buying a few trade deals for us. But the question is it costing us? And if so, how much is it costing us to buy these trade deals?
Yeah, I think it's what I would like to know. I mean, they've had this announcement of the US-UK tech deal, which sounds on the surface very promising. What I want to know is what the details are, and we only get those on Thursday. So at the moment, it's very difficult to comment as opposition. It sounds very good for US inward investment, but what does it actually mean for people? Are we going to get the jobs? What kind of jobs are we going to have? And what kind of impact will some of these data centres have on an energy infrastructure that is currently in a bit of a state with high electricity prices under Ed Miliband?
And a lot of them are going to be in your area, you know, the idea of science, innovation and technology. That's an area which I don't know if we should be thankful or if we got it under control or if we should be worrisome of what we're giving the Americans or what they're taking.
Well, look, I mean, ultimately we are in a tech race, and in that race we want to be on the side of the United States and also to make sure that the UK has a good sovereign capability. By and large, it's good to have cooperation with US tech. We need their expertise. We are not alone going to be able to put the investment into some of the things that need to be invested in relation to some of the key technologies around this. But I want to know what has been given in return for this trade deal. It sounds very good with the US inward investment, but has anything been given away? And as ever with this government, have they done a good deal? Because they're very good at producing good headlines. Sometimes you find out later in the day that they've given away something that we didn't actually want to give away. So that detail comes on Thursday, which makes it difficult for me to fully understand and embrace what's gone on with this deal.
We're talking to you live now from outside Windsor Castle, where we're counting down the hours to President Trump's arrival for this historic second state visit. What's your message to President Trump this morning? Is it a message of welcome? Because we've heard from Sir Sadiq Khan this morning, who has accused Mr. Trump of fueling divisive far-right politics and says that his actions in the White House are straight out of an autocrat's playbook. What do you make of those remarks?
Well, look, Mayor Sadiq Khan is ultimately a student politician. He has had a long serious relationship of animosity towards President Trump, and he is there trying to create embarrassment for our capital city at a time when an important UK ally is visiting. And I think you have to view this all in the context of the internal machinations of the Labour Party. There is a deputy leadership contest going on at the moment, but also a lot of questions about whether Keir Starmer can survive some of his terrible decisions over the past year. And Sadiq Khan is effectively jostling for position as Labour politicians try and curry favour with their left wing. And Sadiq Khan is sort of always provides a masterclass in that kind of student politics and that kind of jostling. Whether that's actually to the benefit of our wonderful capital city and the American tourists, the American investors that we want to get here is another question, but I don't think that's ever been one of his prime concerns.
And the investors would involve £30 billion from technology companies such as Microsoft and Google. What would that £30 billion be used for? Is that to expand the infrastructure that we have, the AI infrastructure, for instance?
Well, AI is a data-hungry industry. It requires a lot of energy, and it requires you to have these data centres of the kind that they're talking about in relation to the investments they're making. So my understanding of it is that they've got some data centres being built up in the northeast, in Essex. What I want to understand, as I suggested earlier, is exactly what the deal is and whether that's on the whole beneficial to the UK. I suspect that it's broadly a good deal, and so therefore we welcome it. We want to have that partnership with US tech. But let's see what's under the bonnet.
What do you think of people like Ed Davey and Michelle O'Neill, the First Minister of Northern Ireland, boycotting the dinner tonight and not greeting Donald Trump in protest of what's going on in Gaza?
Yeah, I just don't think this is serious politics, and this is what the Labour Party have found, sometimes to their cost. What you say in opposition matters. We had President Trump being greeted last night at Stansted Airport by Yvette Cooper, who now finds herself as the Foreign Secretary, having said that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. I mean, these were silly comments in the first place, and they are undermining an important relationship. And Ed Davey can afford to make these silly comments because ultimately he's likely never to be anywhere close to power. I think it's important that people speak rationally and sensibly and recognise that to the UK, the United States is an incredibly important partner, and we need to have that cooperation in defence, security, in the economy, and that certainly a partnership with the US is preferable to many of the other options on the table.
Julia Lopez, we've got to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for your time and your comments this morning.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
Stay tuned with us here on GB News Breakfast, a special edition of GB News Breakfast live from Windsor Castle. I'm going to be joined by our royal correspondent, Cameron Walker, as we await the arrival of President Trump and the First Lady, Melania Trump.
But before all that, graduate jobs in crisis. More on that and other stories making the papers. James Price, Susie Stride back here in the studio. And if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's where it'll be.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're thinking of avoiding the unsettled weather in the UK and heading overseas, you'll find very warm weather in Spain, across the Canaries, as well as Madeira, unusually warm for the time of year. Portugal likewise, but some showery rain affecting southern parts of Portugal. Meanwhile, plenty of sunshine through Spain into the Alps, much of Italy as well, turning hotter here over the next few days. Staying breezy for Greece, particularly the islands, but most places enjoying long spells of sunshine.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
There's a big change in the age of parents, so first-time parents are getting older and older. There's been a significant increase in the number of men over 60 becoming fathers, a 15% increase in just 1 year, and an increase in the number of babies born to foreign parents. But what's really, really concerning is that what's called the total fertility rate, that's the average number of babies that each woman has over her childbearing life, has gone down again. It is now at a record low, just 1.41 children on average per woman. And of course, we need about 2.1 to have a stable population. Now, a lot of people think, well, why don't we want the population to decline? We've been warning about burgeoning population for 50, 60 years now. But I think the really important factor to consider here is it's not really the overall size of the population that matters so much as the proportion of young to old, because that is what we need in order to have enough people working, enough people paying taxes to support people who are retired, to support people who are sick. And that is going down and down and down with huge economic consequences.
Do the figures divide it so that they can say whether the children are of African heritage or of this or of that? Does it tell you those sorts of statistics as well? And if so, what are the... What are they?
Yes, so we know the nationality of mothers who give birth. And in terms of foreign mothers, the greatest number of babies are born to women of Indian and Pakistani heritage. So they are the biggest numbers, the biggest nationalities. But I think what's really important to note is that even with the huge and unpopular levels of immigration that we've had, even with those levels, the birth rate is still falling and the ratio of young to old is still going down.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, James Price and Susie Stride, to make some comments on stories that are making headlines in the papers today. And one of the things, guys, I found out when I was certainly in my mid-20s, automatic cars existed. And as soon as I could afford an automatic car, I bought an automatic car and I didn't go back. Because what is the point of a manual car?
I think they're great fun. They're much more fun to drive around, right? In the same way that some people still like riding horses. There's some magic to it. You're talking to someone who spent his 17th birthday just doing nothing but driving lessons, and I think it's a wonderful thing. My wife's American, can't drive stick shift, and so she thinks I'm a genius for being able to do it.
Exactly. That's the only reason you would ever fail your driving test, you know, because you go through all that gear changing and whatever it is.
I'm exactly the same as you, Eamonn. The minute I came across automatic cars, like, I'm not going back. It's so much easier. It's so much more relaxing. And there must be stats to show that less accidents happen in automatic cars.
I would have thought, because you've less to think about.
The brain's not going all over the place.
Be careful what you wish for, because it's just going to herald the end of all driving, because driverless cars will come along and they'll have way fewer accidents again.
I've been in one of those.
No one will be allowed to drive.
Have you?
In San Francisco, I went in a driverless car.
What did that feel like?
To be honest, it felt strange. It felt strange, but also...
It was a taxi, I presume.
Yeah, it was like a kind of like an Uber. It's like this white car with this thing on top. But they do make mistakes in San Francisco. They suddenly, stop in the middle of the road sometimes.
But not as many as humans.
Pardon?
Not as many as humans do.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with it is the jobs that would go with it. Do you know what I mean? Like all those black cabbies and whatnot. So, but anyway, automatic cars.
Yes,
good.
but I mean, you talk about automatic cars. What about automatic aeroplanes? Because they would introduce those tomorrow if public reaction would give in to that. And that is they want to get rid rid of pilots and the costs of pilots and whatever it is and have automatic airplanes?
I think they'd be great. I think you used to have 120 odd years ago, the early automobiles, the law said you had to have someone waving a big flag walking in front of the car. And they thought if the car went to 30 miles an hour, it would rip your face off. All that stupid nonsense. We don't worry about that. We don't worry about typewriters or horse-drawn carriages. Let's plough towards the future.
I'm not with you. I was in a plane that went that nosedived because of a turbulence last summer, and everyone on the plane thought they were going to die. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone was screaming. No way do I want it to be
that scenario,
automatic.
I want the world's best robot rather than a pilot who may have been drinking the night before, maybe having marital problems, maybe looking at the football or something. I want the best robot in the world.
Right. How long have we got left? 45 seconds. In 45 seconds, James, tell us about why graduate jobs are in crisis.
Well, I think this is the same problem we're talking about, that technology moves along and replaces new people. Now, what's always happened in the past is that that's created new, exciting jobs. AI will destroy some jobs, maybe it will create other ones, but you think driverless cars are scary. What happens when we get fully humanoid robots? That's going to be a whole new future.
Well, OK, I'd like to be able to say we could do without you two, but we certainly could not. Thank you for your contributions this morning. Really appreciate it, James Price and Susie Stride. Thank you both very much indeed. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be back with the GB News Royal Correspondent Cameron Walker, live from Windsor with Ellie. But first, here's your weather update.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning. Drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing. Blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that rain band, well, it really sticks around overnight. There'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop, and actually a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. We're experiencing significant travel disruptions today. Bridge repair work is imposing restrictions on the M73 southbound at Junction 1 near Maryville, while the A721 on-slip to the M74 southbound continues to be closed, leading to considerable delays in the area. Additionally, congestion persists on the M69 southbound near the M6 following a prior incident. In Norfolk, a serious collision has resulted in the full closure of the A47 eastbound. Rail passengers should also be prepared for delays on both Gatwick Express services between Haywards Heath and Wivelsfield and Great Western Railway services through the Portsmouth area. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's our biggest Great British giveaway to date. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primera motorhome. This 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas and has all of the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that any adventures you take in your new motorhome are taken in style. For a chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. President Trump has arrived in Britain for his historic second state visit to the United Kingdom, the highest diplomatic honour that this country can bestow upon foreign leaders.
Ellie in Windsor, me here in the studios in London. Those pictures last night of President Trump disembarking from Marine One, his helicopter, which is transferring him around England. So, as the world awaits for him to come face to face with King Charles, there's going to be a lot of pomp and pageantry, and it's fair to say the President is very thrilled about that.
Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace, and I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right?
Well, let's remind ourselves, shall we, of that moment where the Prime Minister handed President Trump that invitation from King Charles III.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there.
So Ellie at Windsor Castle, there for us all morning, and the President will be travelling there later on today and will be treated to a ceremonial welcome, which we will talk about and describe to you very, very shortly. Then there's a big banquet in the evening, and I am here in London bringing you the latest news of what's happening in the rest of the country and the rest of the world. But the President's arrival hasn't been without I suppose, content and protests like that. Those pictures displayed on the side of Windsor Castle, and they're expected to carry on throughout the day. I don't think they'll really show very much on the in daylight like that, but the police have already taken care of that, and they may be faced with more challenges as the day progresses.
The government's partial returns deal with France is yet to begin, as plans to remove them in the one-in, one-out deal are halted by the High Court.
Prime Minister still facing scrutiny on his decision to appoint Lord Peter Mandelson, with Kemi Badenoch accusing the PM and his Chief of Staff of having forced through Mandelson's appointment.
Charlie Kirk suspect Tyler Robinson appears in court. Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty.
The prime suspect in the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, Christian Bruckner, will be released from prison in Germany later today.
It's a wet and windy start out there this morning. Some places will turn brighter this afternoon, some will keep the rain. More details in the forecast coming up soon.
It's just gone 9 o'clock on a special edition of GB News Breakfast. I'm Ellie Costello, live from Windsor Castle.
And here from the studio in London, I'm Eamonn Holmes, and this is GB News Breakfast.
And good morning from Windsor Castle. What a magnificent location for this day in history, the second state visit of President Trump. And just behind me, you can see a very large royal standard, which is flying high above the round tower. That tells us that King Charles III is in residence. So we can only imagine the preparation that is going on behind closed doors, ready to host this day that is going to be steeped in ceremony, in tradition, and of course in significance as well. Just a few hours to go now until President Trump arrives here in Windsor. He's going to be formally received with a full display of British pomp and pageantry, which truly is what this country does so well. It will be a ceremonial welcome, then there'll be a state carriage procession through the castle grounds, and later that lavish state banquet in St George's Hall. Now, I'm going to introduce you to a man who's taking a very important role today. This is Lieutenant Colonel Storm Green of the Coldstream Guards, who joins me now, who's taking part in the privilege for you.
Absolutely. It's definitely the largest state visit that I've taken part in, and given we're welcoming the President for the second time, we've made it a bit bigger than his first visit.
And we've been watching the rehearsals over the past few nights. Tell us a little bit about the preparation that goes into all of this.
Sure. So for dismounted troops, so troops that are walking on today's parade rather than the horse-mounted troops, for us it's been about 2 weeks worth of rehearsals and coordination that are taking place both down here at Windsor Castle and at our barracks around the country, and for me that's in Wellington Barracks in central London.
And you have the most fascinating role, don't you? Because you have ceremonial duties, but you also have a combative role as well. You're kind of working on a rotation basis, aren't you? How does that work?
That's right. So troops sort of rotate in and out of ceremonial duties. For officers, it's normally a cadence of about every 2 years. But unlike in other countries, in the UK and in the British Army, we aren't strictly ceremonial troops. We also have a sort of green field soldiering role. So recently I deployed on operations in Lebanon, and I've been away to other countries as well relatively recently.
What side of things do you prefer? Is that a fair question to ask?
Yeah, I prefer a mixture. It's great to be able to, especially in the household division with our close links with the royal family, to be able to rotate in and out of ceremonial duties. It's the variety that attracts people to the career, I think.
Well, let's talk about those close links to the royal family, because it is such a special relationship, isn't it, between the two of you, and the military has such an important role to play today. How does it feel for you to be such a vital part of that soft power of the royal family?
It's great. You know, for a long time people have asked me, hey, you know, you get dressed up and you have to do these duties, you get some access to royals and obviously exposure on large state ceremonial parades. Is it as important as the operational duties we do abroad or indeed here in the UK? And like you said, it's a projection of our soft power as Britain. So I think it's worth the investment, and it feels important to us, to me and the troops. And
when it comes to days in history like this, days that are so significant, it's obviously a huge privilege to you. Do you also feel nervous? Do you feel the responsibility of the day as well on your shoulders?
Absolutely. You know, I'm a sportsman. I enjoy my sport. So whether it's crossing the rope for a cricket match or the whitewash for a rugby or a football game, you get that bit of apprehension beforehand and nervousness. And I think that makes you perform. So I'm definitely a bit nervous today in commanding the Guard of Honour to welcome President Trump. But I'm looking forward to it as well.
It's going to be the most magnificent day, and alongside the ceremonial duties that you will take part in today, there's also going to be a moment of reflection and sombre respect from President Trump. He's going to be laying a wreath, isn't he, on Queen Elizabeth's tomb in St George's Chapel. That's going to be a really important moment of the day.
Absolutely, yeah. I was fortunate enough to watch over the Queen as she lay in state a couple of years ago. Incredible monarch, obviously succeeded by her son. But that act of remembrance, not only to remember her, but also to obviously remember the close links between the US and the UK, fought a number of campaigns together over the course of the last couple of decades. I've served with US soldiers both in Iraq and in Afghanistan. And that sort of emphasises that important link between us as key allies.
Well, Lieutenant Colonel Storm Green, thank you very much for your service, and thank you very much for talking to us today, and good luck.
Thank you.
Today. You're going to be wonderful. Cameron Walker, just bring you in, our royal correspondent. This is going to be a day on a scale that we have not seen before.
Oh, absolutely, and as Storm was saying, we're expecting around 1,300 soldiers inside Windsor Castle for that big Guard of Honour parade, 200 horses, and as Storm was saying, the amount of preparation that of course goes in to a ceremonial welcome such as this is kind of unprecedented, particularly for President Trump, his second state visit that he is getting. The security, as you can imagine, is very tight indeed. Well, all of it is actually happening behind the palace walls, the castle walls. So unlike President Macron's state visit, where there was a big carriage procession through the streets of Windsor, that's not happening in public. It's very much happening within Windsor Great Park up to the quadrangle where that Guard of Honour is taking place.
It's going to be a spectacle. It's going to be a wonderful day, and you won't want to miss it. So do stay across GB News throughout the day, where we'll bringing you the very latest on this day in history, the second state visit of President Donald Trump. Back to you, Eamonn.
Cheers, Ellie. Thank you very much indeed. So with the time at 9 minutes past 9 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, it's time for the Great British Giveaway. So this is your chance to be our biggest winner to date in these competitions. The prize package is worth over £104,000, including a brand new motorhome and £30,000 in tax-free cash. Who can explain all this much better than me is Hayley Sparks.
It's our biggest, greatest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win a prize package worth over £104,000. You could be driving away with this brand new Benamar Primero motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this 4-berth home from home comes complete with integrated kitchen and bathroom areas, sky view roof lights, and has all the tech you'd expect from the latest 2025 model. We'll also give you an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to make sure any adventures in your motorhome are taken in style.
For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, do stay with us on this special edition of GB News Breakfast Live from Windsor Castle ahead of the historic second state visit of President Trump, because the washing editor for The Times and the Sunday Times, Katie Balls, will be here with me live. She's going to be talking about what the UK needs from Trump. That's next.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show Live starts Monday night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to this special edition of GB News Breakfast. We're looking ahead to President Trump arriving here in Windsor for that history-making, that unprecedented second state visit. Not only encapsulating the strength of that relationship that we have with the United States, but also demonstrating Britain's continued role on the global stage, blending tradition with diplomacy. And I think you'll agree, one of the most iconic settings in Britain, Windsor Castle. But let's look at the politics of all of this now, because the state visit comes at a fortuitous time for the embattled Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, as he faces pressure from within his own party over the Lord Mandelson scandal, as well as questions over the migrant returns deal with France, that one-in, one-out deal, which has now appeared to be grounded by the High Court. Well, let's speak now to Washington editor and columnist at the Times and the Sunday Times, Katie Ball. Very good morning to you, Katie. What are we expecting to see today in terms of Sir Keir Starmer? Because there's a lot of pressure on him. Do you think he'll try and enjoy it? Is it possible that he'll enjoy it?
Well, I think today is all about Donald Trump enjoying it, in the sense that we know when Keir Starmer offered this unprecedented second state visit, this was the UK government trying to think, what tools do we have to make Donald Trump likely, the government to stay warm towards the UK and keep that relationship special. And given the US president's love of the monarchy, something that he inherited from his late mother, who grew up in Scotland, this is really seen as something that would excite him. And therefore, today, Wednesday, is the day which is really playing to what Donald Trump most wants from the visit, which is to meet with the royals, to see the pomp and pageantry, and to celebrate it in that sense. I think the trickier bit comes tomorrow, which is more what the UK government want, which is to hope that today fosters such goodwill that you get some deals over the line, some help on issues. But I think you could see from the comments from Donald Trump overnight when he was taking off saying, this is primarily about the King and the Queen. That's how he sees this visit.
Very much so. Where do you think it could potentially come unstuck? Because we saw the projections on Windsor Castle literally just behind us last night, pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and President Trump together. It is a reminder, isn't it, that this Lord Mandelson saga is lingering over this second state visit.
Yeah, I think there are a few areas that could unstuck, and it also depends who unstuck for who. For Keir Starmer, there's lots of areas that are potentially uncomfortable in terms of where the US disagrees with the UK. Now, there is no suggestion from those around Donald Trump that he's coming here looking for a fight. Instead, he's coming here in a good mood. He's saying he wants to have a good time. He wants the reporters to also have a good time. That was his message. But I think that, when it comes to, if freedom of speech comes up in a press conference, if Palestinian statehood comes up in a press conference, I don't think he's going to hold back from saying what he thinks. And that would be more uncomfortable for Keir Starmer. What I think would be uncomfortable for Donald Trump and could start to rain on his experience and how he views this trip is if it all became about Jeffrey Epstein. I think that if you saw a world where all the questions about Peter Mandelson exiting over links to Jeffrey Epstein, and then that moved to Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, and that was the bulk of the press conference. That's something which we know the president doesn't really like talking about, even though he's had to talk on most issues.
We were talking to some protesters last night, and there were a number of them that are making their voices heard. They didn't want to see President Trump here for this second state visit. Many of them talking about the cost, the sheer cost, millions of pounds in terms of security and putting on this lavish display of pomp and pageantry. What do you say to that? What do we get in return? How is this good for Britain? I mean, we were just mentioning there Donald Trump talking us up on the way here, talking about his friendship with King Charles and him being an elegant man, speaking so highly of royalty. And we also had the investment from Google this morning. I mean, these are good things to come out of what could just be deemed as ceremonial pomp and pageantry. There's a serious side to all of this as well.
There is, and also there's a longer term relationship, which is if you think about the UK and the US relationship on security, going at a very long period of time, keeping relationships good is very important, because we do share so much in terms of intelligence, in terms of mutual interest, regardless who is president. And I also think if you think about what's happening with tariffs, that UK-US trade deal, now some won't like some of the tariffs, there are still tariffs that are a problem for the UK, but compared to other countries, the UK is in a better position than lots of countries. And that has to partly be down to diplomacy and having a good relationship with the US. So I think it is important to make sure you have that relationship. And in the grand scheme of things, you have some announcements today, which are good news. Perhaps we won't get the changes on the trade deals that Keir Starmer would like, but longer term, you can't really afford not to have a good relationship with the US.
And what is Starmer hoping to get out of this? I mean, he's desperate for some good news now, isn't he, and some light relief. Perhaps that's what this will offer him.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, if you have a good state visit where they can say, look at all this investment, look at the future of these technology industries, finally they have a good news story which isn't about someone being forced out of government a few days late. I think that would probably be good news for Keir Starmer. I think the best thing would be if he could say, look at these industries struggling because of tariffs and I have X and Y to show, but that's probably a little bit far out right now.
Okay, Katie Balls, as always, really good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us on this very special edition of Breakfast. Well, Eamonn, you might remember back in April, Donald Trump was talking about this second state visit. He was describing it as a fest. That might have made people very uncomfortable at the time, but you can see what he means. He's not far wrong. It is going to be a festival, isn't it, in terms of light and colour and warmth. It's going to be so busy here in Windsor Castle. Already we can feel the buzz in this town. It really is going to be spectacular. And what a show Britain is going to put on. The pomp and pageantry, the very best in the world. Nobody else does it better. It's all going to be coming up live on GB News.
Yeah, Ellie, and I'm just looking at the reaction coming in from people, and they're split between the idea that it is a show as such, and that it is a welcoming roll of honour for the American president. I need to say, no matter what anyone thinks of Trump, he stands head and shoulders as a statesman, whereas our snivelling leader is in the shadows waiting for the all clear. Jason says, with all the things going on in our country and the problems we have, I'm disgusted that these strange people go and protest against Trump, who is an ally and a friend of our country and is in awe of our royal family and can be a great friend to us when we need as many friends as we can get around the world. So a lot of you concerned about security around Windsor Castle today, but then be in Windsor will be in the castle and therefore in the confines of a secure environment there. Now, from 9:30 this morning, we have Charlie Peters and Miriam Cates for Britain's Newsroom, and they're going to continue talking about what we can expect, the whole programme of events and displays that are going to be there, and what the President and his wife will be facing in terms of the timetable, I think I'm trying to say, for the rest of the day. So we'll cross to Charlie and Miriam to find out what is coming up on today's programme. Well, let's just see where they are, whether they're ready or not. I don't know why they're not ready, but let's have a look, and I can talk about what is there. There they are. Look at the two of them. They are ready. Smiles all around.
Good morning, Eamonn.
Well, are you excited? Are you feeling the atmosphere?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely feeling the atmosphere. This is a momentous occasion for this royal town, of course, and it's Kate's first time in Windsor.
It is,
so
unless you count Legoland, but apparently that doesn't count.
Not quite the cut for me. So it's a great day for her as well, and I'm very excited to be seeing it all with Miriam Kate.
And it's a wonderful setup, lots of flags. We saw the projections, of course, on the castle last night, so lots coming up on today's programme.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. A wet and windy start for many of us this morning, drier for many later, but it does stay damp in some places, most notably across parts of the Midlands and into Wales. Actually, it's Wales where we've seen the heaviest rainfall so far, and that rain continues through much of the day. Rain warning in force until lunchtime because of the risk of localised flooding. The rain does turn lighter, and in fact, many places dry up and brighten up. For the north part of Wales, the North Midlands, Northern England, Northern Ireland, much of Scotland, some sunny intervals developing. Blustery in the northwest and the south, and it stays damp across the south of England and South Wales, with further heavy rain turning up as we go into the evening. Meanwhile, across Scotland, that's where our rain is moving slowly into the Northern Isles, but showers for much of the rest of the north and northwest of Scotland, with some clear spells through central and southern parts. Northern Ireland, clear spells, mostly dry as we end the day, still fairly blustery with a gusty southwesterly breeze. But it stays damp through much of Wales, into northern parts of Devon, for example, through parts of the Midlands and East Anglia. And that's rain, and when it really sticks around overnight, there'll be further pulses coming and going of persistent and heavy rain for much of Wales. It edges a bit further north by the start of Thursday into the rest of the Midlands, as well as parts of northern England. But it does clear the south, where it's a muggy night, 17 or 18 Celsius by the start of Thursday. Cooler towards the north, with further blustery showers for the north and northwest of Scotland. Another breezy day here. Heaviest downpours likely for Shetland and Orkney. The rain band that I mentioned across central parts, that continues to push north on Thursday into northern England, southern Scotland, Northern Ireland, North Wales. To the south, brighter skies develop. Actually, a warm day with temperatures up to 22 or 23 Celsius. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust